Alrighty, sports fans, I'm back. It's the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Proud to be a part of Utah's ESPN radio network. I'm Scott Mitchell, filling in for Sean today. It's Friday. It's Fun Friday. It's Fantastic Friday. It's Freaky Friday. It is Football Friday. And according to some of the smartest mathematicians in the world, it's 92 days until the beginning of the college football season. If you're me, it's 91 days. It's just a thing I have because we're here today, and you can't really count today because we're already here. So it's only 91 days. It's even better than you thought it was. We're going to have a fun day today. We got a lot of folks to talk to. We got a lot of things to talk to. We're going to talk to things. Yeah, that's what we do on the show. We talk in the third person. We talk to things. We talk to persons. We talk to places. We talk to all of it because that's what we do. We love it. We love to be here. Thank you so much for joining us. If you can't get us here all day, don't worry about it because you can listen live on the ESPN700sports.com. Just go there, boom, and listen to us, or you can go to the ESPN 700 app. You can also go on your smart speaker. Tell it to play ESPN 700. And guess what? It will. It's so amazing how that happens. We're also on YouTube. Hello, YouTube, at ESPN 700 Sports Utah. You can also get the podcast on 700sports.com, ESPN700sports.com, and ESPN 700 app. Search for the Sean O'Connell Show, and even the shows that I'm on. You're going to get those, so it's fun. If you don't like listening to me here, or if you want to listen to more, you can listen to my show, which is the Down and Dirty. It happens right before Sean's show here on ESPN 792.1 FM at 10 o'clock, 10 to 11. Our show today and every day is brought to you by Les Schwab Tires. Les Schwab has the tires, wheels, and accessories for whatever you drive. Stop by your local Les Schwab today, and their professionals will get the job done right the first time. Okay, I'm not even sure where I want to start with this. There's so much I want to get into. So very, very much. But the thing that just is rubbing me wrong, it's in my craw. It's just gnawing at me. And just can't stand it. Really bugs the heck out of me. So guess what? That's where I'm going to start the show. This whole college football playoff, they didn't expand it. They just kind of tweaked it a little bit, and they tweaked the heck out of it, and it's just stupid. It's just dumb. And I'm just annoyed about it. Look, I talked about it on my show. I'm going to talk about it here on Sean's show because it's that stupid. It's that dumb. Okay, so the NCAA and or whoever is running college football, I don't even know who it is. I don't even think anyone's running it. I think it's auto-penned. I think there's 5 guys in some building and they just have auto pens and they just sign things and they just go, we're not in charge. We don't know who's in charge. We're just doing this. We don't care. Hey, let's do this. Let's just say seeding. That's how we're going to do college football playoffs because that's stupid. And here's why it's stupid. First of all, explain to me in sports. I mean, sports, the idea of sports is that you play. And why you and whoever wins. And that's the excitement. That's the thrill of sports. That's the unknown of sports. That's like you play the games to win the championships. And you play the game to win. And in college football, for some reason, which is so beyond me, I don't get this. They have rankings. We're gonna subjectively make a decision on who is the best team. And a lot of people making these decisions have never played it down. Don't even know what it's like to be on the field, to throw a pass, to get hit, to tackle someone, to score a touchdown, to make an interception, to kick a field. They don't know. And they're the people that are saying, you are the good ones and you are the bad ones. And I cannot stand the subjectiveness of college football. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world. And they go, oh, we're going to have our first poll of the season. We haven't even played a game yet. You don't even really know how the teams are good or bad, and it's wrong to do this. And it really has a negative impact on a lot of teams, and it can favor other teams. And it typically favors the SEC and the Big Ten. And they just go, oh, yeah, our top 12 teams, 10 of them are in the SEC and the Big Ten. And that's the arrogance of all of this. Now, granted, the best program, I get it. They do have the best players. They do have some of the teams are the best teams, but not top to bottom in their conference. It's like, oh, they're just far superior than everyone else. And so it makes this whole thing an absolute mess. Every year, I cannot stand the subjectiveness. And now it's become very important. It's become the most important thing in your bid to go to the college football playoffs. If you're in the Big 12, your only shot is you got to win your conference championship. That's it. It's going to be very hard in the Big 12 to get more than one team into the NCAA because of the way it's done. Now, that hasn't really changed from last year to this year, but maybe it should. Maybe the conference, Brett Yormark, should look at this and go, wait a minute. Having a cupcake schedules, maybe not even having a conference championship game. Let's be honest, folks. Do we really watch conference championship games? No, we don't. No, who cares? Nobody watches them. And it was this idea of creating more games and more excitement and more money. If you're a Utah fan and you go, okay, we're going to the conference championship or we're going to the college football playoffs, which game are you? Because you can't go to both. Most people don't. A lot of people don't. And they don't. So they go, I'm passing on the conference championship game. I'm hoping they either go to a really good bowl game or they go to the college football playoffs. And then I'll go anywhere in the world. I'll go anywhere in the world. I'll go to El Paso, Texas. If that's where a college football playoff game, I'm there. So, but I don't care about the conference. And so now conference championships really mean nothing because it massively can hurt you having losses. This whole idea of actually changing your schedule and having the cupcake schedule. I mean, having the Alabama, let's just call it the Alabama schedule. Okay, we're gonna play Georgia. We're gonna play a really soft SEC schedule because a lot of teams in the SEC are soft. And then we're gonna play this multi-directional Southwest Louisiana Tech A&M, right? And we're gonna play them the second to last week of the game or of the season. And we're only gonna play 8 conference games. Y'all play 9. We're gonna make our conference a lot bigger. We're gonna even water it down more. So we're not necessarily gonna play a lot of good teams every year. We're called Ole Miss. Ole Miss was the most overrated team. They were not that great. They were not that. I mean, I like Jackson Dart, whatever, but they weren't that great. They weren't that good. And but they go through the season. Because guess what they did? They spent a lot of money getting players at Ole Miss. And everybody said, whoa, watch out for Ole Miss because they did a great job in the NIL. And they got a bunch of players there. And so then they don't play anyone all year. They're ranked high early on in the season. And they only lose like in week 8 to Alabama or to Georgia. And it's so rigged. It's so unfair. They shouldn't have polls. Shouldn't have polls till October. So now everyone should play the same number of games. You shouldn't have to play like 9 and then the other conference plays 8. And it's really hard for the Big 12 because the Big 12 actually is competitive from top to bottom. And part of why I think it's competitive is that everyone thinks they can win. Everyone has a shot, and they do. The talent disbursement is so equal in the Big 12. And so to win, you have to be lucky. You have to get so many breaks. To win, you can't have injuries. Like if you have injuries, you're done. And then you have to, be a team. Maybe you get a lot of turnovers. You get a lot of luck. You have just all the breaks bounce your way. And with all of that, you're probably still going to have 2 losses on a season. If you're a team like Utah, who's going to start the season unranked, and if you're really looking at what's going on in the Big 12, is Utah a team that should be unranked? I don't think so, actually. I think Utah's going to be a very good team. Utah's going to be competitive. They're going to be in every game. It's hard. You can't say, well, they're going to win because the talent is just too evenly spread across the league. And you really don't. I mean, if the quarterback plays well, Devin Dampier is better than advertised. Maybe if he's even as advertised, then Utah is going to be super competitive in the Big 12. But it's going to be hard to go undefeated, just because there's just that 1 week. There's just some, that there's 2 weeks. There's just a couple of games. You should win, but you don't. Unless you just get really lucky and you just hit, lightning in a bottle. Then it makes more sense. And so the Big 12 is so hard because everyone beats up on each other, because they're all competitive. They're all pretty good. You look at Utah State. I don't know how good West Virginia is going to be. It's an early season game. It's on the road. You catch them at the right time of year, they could be super competitive. Or if you catch them at the wrong time of year, you go, "Ooh, glad we got them." Like Texas Tech is the opening game for Utah this year in its conference play in Salt Lake. And Texas Tech, they went all in. Right? They threw all their chips in the middle. They go, we're gonna go see if we can buy a championship. And they did. They did it multiple times in the transfer portal windows. Now, are they going to gel enough? Are they going to be a really hot team? Are they going to be a good team early on? I don't know. I mean, so that's the whole thing. How the schedule is structured can either play to your favor or not. But am I excited about the college football playoffs and this change? Not for 1 second. It changes nothing if you're in the Big 12. You just got to win the conference. Now, you can do that, and you can get to the college football playoffs, and that's exciting. But it doesn't necessarily mean you have a bye, because those going to the top 4 teams that are ranked in the country. So, it just infuriates me, actually. The whole thing just infuriates me. It makes no sense to me. I've never, ever understood this. The only way any of this ever makes sense to me, and maybe they're doing it for this reason, but the only way it makes sense to me is that you have to have everyone, it has to playing on the same playing field. So you have to play the same number of conference opponents. You have to, maybe you all have the same, everyone has to have a conference title. Maybe you can't play a non-conference game late in the season. Maybe there's no rankings until later on in the year. Maybe they just do away with rankings. I mean, imagine the NFL ranking the teams and going, we're just going to subjectively decide who gets to go in and how the seeding goes. And the NFL actually said, no, we're not going to go based on the number of games you win in a season. You win a division, you win your conference, you win something, you get a bye. You get there's something about winning your conference, and if there's no value put on that, you're better off, Big 12, not having a conference championship. You're better off if you're a team like Utah, not to have these really exciting non-conference games. You're looking, if you're really smart in the Big 12, you're looking like we need to revamp our scheduling. We need to look at how we need to schedule our conference in a way that gives us the best opportunity to have multiple teams in the college football playoffs, because that's where you're going to create prestige in your conference. If you get multiple teams in the playoffs, if they go far, if somebody, lo and behold, gets in the national championship game, if, lo and behold, they win it. But you got to get more chances at that, and that draws more money into the conference. And if you have higher teams ranked, you're going to go to better bowl games, and it's going to drive revenue. But if you're going to go in and you're just going to stick your head in the sand and you're going to go, we're just going to beat each other up all season long and be super competitive with not the best talent in the country, you're going to end up with one team, and probably a team that's not going to get a bye. I mean, maybe you're going to need a team that is ranked early and stays there all year, and that actually gets the attention of the people that vote, gets the pub, so this team can actually, get some kind of notoriety. But you have to look at this different if you're the conference. I think you have to figure out. You have to change your strategy. The SEC is not embarrassed by this. I guarantee you they sit behind closed doors and they go, how can we make more money? Well, we need to change it to seeding. We're going to make sure that we get teams ranked, a lot of them, early. And if we get it based on seeding and we get early rankings and we have easy schedules, the easiest schedules we possibly can, let's try to avoid playing each other as much as possible. Let's try to play the really bad teams in the SEC. Like the SEC goes, oh, we're the best conference in the world. But the SEC wants bad teams in its conference. They want Vanderbilt. They want Kentucky to be bad. They want Mississippi State to be bad. They really don't want Ole Miss to be good. They're okay. They're okay if Florida, Tennessee are down. You know what? Bring in Oklahoma, Texas. We don't think they're that good. Texas A&M. We love these programs. And the Big Ten, you know what? Nebraska, come on in. Rutgers, absolutely. Bring on you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry to our conference. And we're gonna manipulate you. We're going to abuse you. We're going to take advantage of you. And you're going to be the disadvantaged, the outcast of our conference. And we're happy you're here. And we will protect you. We will keep you here forever because you know what? Your sacrifice for this conference brings us dollars. You don't realize that you are kind of the grunt. You are the backbone. You are what this conference is built on. Easy wins. And we want them. As many of them as we possibly can. And we only want to have one marquee game a year. We only want Georgia, Alabama playing once a year. That's it. And and they're smart about it. They talk about it. I guarantee you they do. They figure out how can we get more money in our conference. And it's not about, hey, what's in the best interest of the college football fan? What's in the best interest of all of college football? Really? Is it a consolidation of power? The NFL said, no, it's not. We need all of our teams to be on a level playing field. And it made the NFL the most entertaining, the most watched, the best product sports-wise in our sphere, in the United States of America. And they didn't say, how can a couple of us here in our big media markets take advantage of this? You know, one of the most popular teams in the NFL right now is the Kansas City Chiefs. They're a flyover state. One of the top teams in the NFL is the Buffalo Bills. They live in Buffalo. And the NFL, and you know what? People like it. They love it. And it just seems to me like there's this good old boy network going on in college football. And maybe it's the media partnerships. I don't know. And believe me, the media of America is what drives a lot of things that happen, and they make a lot of decisions and a lot of choices and direction of where things go are based on those things because they go, we're here to make money. We're not really necessarily here for the average fan. We're not here for the folks in college football. Like I said, someone with an auto pen is running college football, and they're just doing these crazy things. It's just like, yeah, let's do NIL, but it's not a pay for play. Well, it kind of is, but it's not. But it is. And it's an absolute joke. And the thing that I hear the most from people, this NIL is killing things. And people and I just think this whole idea of this whole ranking process in the college football playoffs, it makes it no different than it's ever been. And it's just another way to continue to perpetuate the interest of just a few. And they're kind of making you feel like, well, you can get in, but not really very. And you know what? We made a mistake. It was like these old conference championship things. You're not getting a bye just because you win your conference. No. No, it's not working. Stuart Mandel with The Athletic. He ranked all of the programs in the country. The best programs for the last 25 years or the first 25 years of the 21st century. So best 25 programs in the first 25 years of the 2000s. And he ranked it based on a bunch of criteria, which had to do with like BCS New Year's Six appearances or the college football playoffs, national championships, conference championships, wins against ranked teams, time in the top 25, time in the top 10. And, of course, it was kind of counterbalanced by the number of losing seasons. Now, Utah appears in this. And I think it's quite interesting where they appear. They are 22. Okay, so Utah is the 22nd best program in the country in the last 25 years. And I think people would say hey, it's top 25, right? It's a top 25 program. And then you look at some of the teams that are below Utah. Now, I'll tell you one that's lower is Washington. University of Washington is 24. And would you say that Washington has been a lesser program than Utah in the 2000s? I'm not sure that I agree with that. But maybe so. Now, here's a few teams that have been better than Utah. Oklahoma State was 21. Boise State was 20. TCU was 19. Virginia Tech was 18. Penn State was 17. Utah in that time has a 661 winning percentage. They have a higher winning percentage than Oklahoma State. Boise State won 80% of its games. Now it's in an easier conference. I don't know that you can put Boise State better than Utah. I mean, because if Utah's in the Mountain West, they're ahead of Boise State in this time. I mean, Utah went from a Boise State program to a Power 5 program. And there has to be some consideration for that. TCU is 19. Virginia Tech, I mean, where the heck has Virginia Tech been? And Penn State, Wisconsin, Auburn, Miami. Would you say in the 2000s that those teams have been better than Utah? I think it's hard to say they have. And maybe I'm seeing this completely wrong. You think of Urban Meyer, you think of Kyle Whittingham going undefeated, and there was kind of a lean part of the century or the early parts of the century when Utah was transitioning into the Pac-12. There were some lean years there, and then all of a sudden, started going to conference championships. And it changed. I just don't see these programs. I mean, Miami at a time, but in the 2000s, I don't know. Now Utah has never won a national championship, and of course Miami has in the 2000s. Auburn has won a national championship, so maybe they are. But Wisconsin, you can't tell me Wisconsin's been better than Utah. Penn State. Maybe about the same. Virginia Tech, there's no freaking way Virginia Tech in the 2000s has been better. TCU, you could say, well, they were kind of close to Utah when they were in the same conference, but Utah kind of jumped past them a little bit, I think. And Oklahoma State, I mean, what's Oklahoma State done? So I just think, fascinating list. But, it's hard to go. I think Utah's a top 15 program in the last 25 years. I really do. I mean, Florida State, I mean, they've had one national championship. Florida, yes. Texas, probably. USC, Oregon, yeah. Clemson, LSU, Georgia, Oklahoma, Alabama, and Ohio State. I could see all those teams. But I think Utah's a top 15 team. They're 21. All right, we're going to take a break because that's what we do. We take breaks for minutes. We come back. Hey, none other than my friend, my partner, Bill Riley, voice of the Utes, is going to join us. I'm going to ask him about this list and a bunch of other stuff when the Sean O'Connell Show returns here on ESPN 700 921 FM.
Back of the goal, he'll reverse it in the corner. A good hit by Bennett on Svechnikov. Mikula down the boards for the Cats. In back of the goal for Hagee. A power move in front. Through the blue, it's loose. And it's frozen by Freddie Anderson. No! It leaks home! It gets by Anderson. He thought he had it. And it's poked in. It's Matthew Tkachuk. 2-0 Florida.
Florida Panthers' goal to help secure their Game 2 win over the Hurricanes, courtesy of Sports USA. Game 2 on the Western Conference Finals is tonight at 6 o'clock here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Hello, this is Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell, filling in for Sean today. I was here yesterday. So glad you could join us. It's a Friday. It's a fun Friday. It's a freaky Friday. It's a football Friday. It's all those great things. But, man, does it ever get better than this when we get to have the voice of the Utes and director of broadcasting at the University of Utah, Bill Riley, join the show. Bill, welcome on in. How you doing?
Scott, we're 99 days to kick off.
We are 99 days, unless you're me, and it's 98 days. I'm not going to get into that math, but I will.
Are you and I still doing this? We've been doing this for 10 years.
For 10 years.
Are we still doing this, Dan?
There's just routines. There's some things I can just never let go of in my life. It's always a rule that if you're here on that day, you can't count it. It's already happened. So we're 98 days on my calendar, and I'm happy that you have 99 days. But very soon, sooner than I think, the college football season will start for the University of Utah in the Rose Bowl. That's very exciting. But what are you looking forward to the most?
Just everything. I mean, you and I talk about this all the time. There's this great line. Have you ever seen the movie Almost Famous?
Yes.
It's one of my all-time favorite movies.
That's the theme of my life, by the way. Almost Famous is the theme of my life.
No, you were famous. You were famous. A guy like me was almost famous. But it starred the kid that played William Miller went to East High School. Anyway, I love the movie, and he's trying to get an interview with the band the entire movie, and finally at the end of the movie, he and Russell sit down. He said, "Russell, what do you love about rock and roll?" And he looks at him and he says, "To start with, everything." And you ask me, what do I love? What am I looking forward to? Scott, to start with, everything. I love football season. I love college football season. I love University of Utah football season. I love when there's hope in a season, and I think there's real hope this year for a bounce back and contending in the Big 12. I'm anxious to see Devin Dampier and what he can do against level-up competition. I'm anxious to see Smith Snowden and Teo Johnson and Lander Barton take a next step toward their NFL journey. I can't wait to see the offensive line, which might be the best. Hell, Scott, it might be an NFL caliber offensive line, for goodness sakes. I'm just excited. I'm excited to be working with you and Sly and Alonzo and our whole crew. I can't wait for it. 99 or not. I like your number better, even though I think my number is right, but I'll take 98.
Well, and yeah, and it's important to be right, and you like right. So do you think that, because you list a lot of great things, and they're all things to be really excited about, especially when you know, like on the offense and defensive line, that's where everything happens. It's really pretty much who's going to win a game, and that line, that we've always talked about that offensive line. Boy, you get that offensive line going for Utah, things are really going to happen. But this whole idea of starting the season off in the Rose Bowl, it's I don't know. Even though Utah's lost twice in their Rose Bowl appearances, I know it's not the actual Rose Bowl game, but does that add to the excitement? Playing in the Rose Bowl, playing a former conference champion, do you think that's a healthy? Do you think it's a good way, for the psyche of the team, for the focus kind of? It just seems like you need that kind of kickstart to a good season and to kind of have one of those moments that just send you off in the right direction. Do you think the Rose Bowl has the potential for that?
Yeah, you and I know this. There's a difference between the Rose Bowl on August 30th or October 30th and January 1st. There's going to be 40,000 people there.
Right.
So it's not the same. But what I like, I do love the venue, and I love being there and all that stuff. But I like the idea of starting with UCLA. I do. I think, and you tell me because you played, but I think, and I don't mean this as any offense to the Southern Utahs and the Weber States of the world, but when you open with them, you know what kind of an opponent you have. When you open with a UCLA, and there's someone known with the Bruins, but UCLA is a known Power 4 commodity. This is not a layup line game. This is not one of those games where if you're Lander Barton or Wayshawn Parker, you know you're only going to play 2 quarters. You're probably going to have to play 4 quarters and play your butt off to win this game. And I think it enhances your focus in fall camp knowing you're opening with a UCLA. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. I really do, especially if you look at who the conference opener is, and that's Texas Tech, who made a huge splash in the transfer portal. So you're gonna get a quality opponent coming out of the box in conference play, and it does up the focus. It changes the direction of things. It changes how you do things. I know this House versus the NCAA. You know, they're working through how all of that changes things, because the way Utah practices will be impacted by if they can get more bodies in the fall. It will actually help them, but I'm not too sure practicing the ones against the ones is necessarily a bad thing, and I think it actually might make the team a little bit better. But one, you know, you're going to have this quality opponent. It definitely is going to have you prepared for the season. But one of the things, you know, you talk about most excited for me, what I'm most excited for is the fact that Utah, you know, laid an egg in its first year in the conference. And I don't think it sat well with anyone up on the Hill. Coach Whittingham, any of his coaches, the players. I think there's been a real spirited spring practice, a spirited offseason just in general. And I think that coupled with playing this quality opponent, having an early season tough opponent to start the conference, I think that's going to kind of get the juices flowing and people their focus and attention. And we've seen through the years where Coach Whittingham and that whole program, when they kind of have a chip on their shoulder and they kind of are going to be deemed the underdog, they seem to play a little bit better. And that to me kind of is the feeling that's, you know, Utah doesn't necessarily have that respect, have that expectation that they've had in years past, or even last year. I mean, everyone picked them to win the conference, and now they're probably won't be ranked. And I don't think they're a team people are going, yeah, this is a conference champion.
It's really that part of it's really interesting to me, because they were a pretty big favorite among a lot of people to win the league. They and K-State last year. And there was only one definitive reason they were bad last year, Scott. It was injuries, and specifically injuries at quarterback.
Right.
But to listen or to follow some of the national college football experts, you would think the program has been in some sort of 5-year dip and that Kyle Whittingham's forgotten how to coach football. I'm not guaranteeing they win the league, but it's been really interesting reading some, not all, but some of the preseason previews that don't even have Utah in the conversation. That's the interesting part to me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. One of the things that was really good last year was the defense, and I think the defense will be equally as good, if not better, this year, because these players they're much more seasoned, they're much more experienced. They've got a lot of experience in every position group on the defense. Lander Barton's healthy, so the maturity, the growth, and the, you know, like, we have something to prove, chip on your shoulder with this defense. So you know the defense is going to be good. And I've been saying this all off season, the offense just has to be just a little bit better. And if they are, Utah's in and probably wins most of its games, and they're certainly going to be in the conversation at the end of the year.
They've got, everybody agrees nationally, they've got one of the best offensive lines, not in the Big 12, but in college football.
Yeah.
They've got 2 proven running backs. So the worst, and they've got a guy, and say what you want, but, you know, Devin Dampier's numbers, I don't care that he was playing at New Mexico. There's only been 4 or 5 or 6 quarterbacks in college football history that have put up similar numbers, and those guys won Heisman trophies. I'm not saying he's going to be a 4,000-yard guy per se this year and run pro, but those are good numbers, and he had good numbers against Power 4. even if he performs at a level comparable to what he did at New Mexico last year, that's 10 steps above what Utah had a year ago. So, again, the beauty of sport is you get to play it out on the field. Yeah. Nobody picked Arizona State was picked 16th a year ago in the Big 12, and they win the thing. You've got to go out and prove it. But yeah, it is just a little surprising to me that there isn't. There have been a couple that have said, "Hey," and I saw Andy Staples, who's part of the On3, I think it's On3 family. He and Ari Wasserman. And Staples said, "Hey, I'm buying Devin Dampier stock," and he says, let's not sleep on Utah in the Big 12. There's some people out there, and again, I'm not saying you have to pick the Utes to win the league, but it's just been interesting not to have them on, top 4, top 5 teams by some people's metrics.
Yeah, that is a fascinating thing, and you certainly, it's like, boy, we so quickly forget, and a lot of people don't really dig deep enough to really analyze and really look where a team is and what they really have. They just kind of maybe go a little bit off of last year, but yeah, because this Utah team is they're going to be a problem for a lot of people. But you bring up a great point about this is what's so exciting is you just don't ever know, and you don't know until you start playing the games. And when we talked about what are we looking forward to, that to me is part of what I'm really looking forward to. I love the Big 12, and I love it from this perspective that you just have so many teams that are competitive, that have a hope, they have a belief that they can win, and so you get people who care about football. You get people who want to have a great effort and they want to try, and I really love that about the conference. But I also kind of hate it from the grand picture of things, and they've changed the seeding. For the playoffs, where it's just straight seeding now. The top 4 teams, however they're ranked, will be the top 4 teams that get byes. Is it a detriment now to the Big 12 and kind of having all these competitive teams? Does it change anything? What are your thoughts about the changing to seeding with the college football playoffs?
I honestly, Scott, that part of it doesn't bother me. I don't like the part that we're getting to where the SEC and the Big Ten are going to flex their muscles and get the automatic berth to the tournament. But from a seeding standpoint, the top 4 teams, that's why you have a committee. The committee is that's what we do in basketball. Nobody says because Villanova won the Big East, they're an automatic number 1 seed. No. Your entire body of work, who you've played, what your record is, what your league looks like, that should factor in. I don't have any problem with this. I don't like the setting up in advance that this conference gets 4 automatic berths, this conference gets 3, this conference gets – I don't like that part of it. We've done it for 50 years in college basketball to where you have a committee of people – that use the metrics and use the data, and they seed teams. They have to seed 68 teams, Scott. We can't have this committee seed 12 or 16. Right. I think we can, but I don't think the Big 12 automatically deserves a bye. What if the Big 12 was good, but they weren't great?
Right.
So I think the best. I think if we have the committee there, then the committee should be trusted. And who's on the committee, we could debate that. But your committee should be trusted to be able to seed the top 4 teams for their bye and then beyond. I don't like the idea of Power 4 conferences get automatic byes. I don't like that part.
Yeah, see, I just have a problem, and I could live with that. I just have the problem that it's subjective to start with. It's like I just wish the whole thing could be based off of playing. You play the games, whoever wins. And whoever has the highest winning percentage goes in, and I think there's Indiana is any better or as good as teams in the Big 12, and so that's a part of it. If they could have a way where everyone's playing an equal number of games, conference games, and the schedule, and you have to eliminate like the directional schools late in your season, and you can't be playing non-conference games down the stretch. I just that would be something for me. I believe this is all a ploy to just enhance and help the 2 big programs in college football, and I'm not I'm not a fan of it at all. I'm not, and it doesn't change anything for anyone in the Big 12. It's like you just got to win your conference if you want to get in, and that's probably it.
I agree with. I think there should be uniformity across college football and number of conference games you play. But if you choose to play a couple of 1AAs on your non-conference schedule, well, that should factor into your strength of schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they do in college basketball. Some teams schedule, 17 ranked teams in the preseason, then they play their conference. And their record isn't great, but their strength of schedule is. That's where, that's where the committee's got to really do its job. But I am with you that if we're going to get into this day and age, we got to have some uniformity. Either you're playing 8 conference games or you're playing 9 conference games, or maybe it's 10. I would love to go to a year where you have 10, where everybody played 10, Scott.
Yeah. And
then you have 2 non-conference games. You can play 1 cupcake, 1 middle of the road or an old rival, but you play. If I'm a fan of the Utes or whomever, I would rather see better games. If I'm a fan of Alabama and I'm paying gazillions of dollars, I don't want to see Jacksonville State in November at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I would rather see another SEC team there. Does that make sense?
Totally, and that's why I thought they expanded the playoffs so you would be encouraged to have a tougher schedule and know you maybe you have 2 losses, so you're still a really good team, but you got a chance to be in an expanded playoffs. And it doesn't feel like it feels like you're better off if you go easier on your schedule. It might even be better off if you don't even go to your conference championship game or even have a conference championship game.
In some cases, there were back in the day, there were a lot of schools, and I think Rick Majerus was one of those guys when he had good teams. They didn't necessarily love play basketball. Some basketball teams don't necessarily love playing in that conference tournament. They're not all that upset when they bow out early and they get that extra week of rest.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of the same way in college football too.
This was an interesting thing that came out in the Athletic, and they ranked the top 25 programs in the country in football in the last 25 years. And Utah's ranked in the top 25 programs. Boise State was 20. TCU was 19. Virginia Tech was 18. Penn State and Wisconsin were 17 and 16. And Auburn was 15. Do you think Utah is worse or better than any of those teams? Or do you think that seems about right for Utah at 22?
Well, it seems about right. I think Boise, I think they get a lot of love for that Fiesta Bowl season where they were so. Here's the thing. I think Boise gets too much credit for that year they beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah.
And I don't think Utah gets enough credit nationally for the year they went undefeated, because Florida also went undefeated and won the national championship. I don't think Utah nationally gets enough credit for that season, but Boise, because they were Boise, gets a lot more. Does that make sense?
100%.
I think they're in about the right spot. Auburn won a national championship,
Yep.
Scott.
I understand.
They had a Heisman Trophy winner. They won a national championship. They played in some SEC championship games. I've got no problem with that. I think in that 19 to 22 range probably feels right for Utah. I would put them ahead of Boise State because, again, Utah's done – for the 2000s, Utah, half of that time, or in the last 25 years, more than half of that time, they've done it against Power 5 competition. Boise State has been a group of 5 school that's had there's no shot at Boise's program. What they've done has been fantastic, but they've not played a Power 5 schedule for the last 13 or 14 years the way Utah has. So I would put Utah ahead of Boise State. But other than that, I don't have much problem with it. I think that's about right.
I hadn't thought of this until you just talked about Boise State. I wonder where BYU would have been in the kind of perception in the country had they stayed in the Mountain West instead of gone independent. And they stayed in the Mountain West and they just kind of dominated, similar to like a Boise State. So they became this really big fish in a small pond.
I agree with you. That would have been their trajectory.
Yeah.
They would have been bigger than Boise State. They're already bigger. They've got more of a national following. They're not a regional school, but I think that they would have had good success, probably won league championships, probably played in a few New Year's Day 6 bowl games because they won, league championships. So I absolutely think that they're their star would have been brighter probably overall than Boise's had they stayed in the Mountain West Conference, because that would have been their league. They would have been the big dog in that league.
So speaking of BYU, Jake Retzlaff has this civil lawsuit or issue happening, and again, it's alleged. It's not confirmed or denied at this point, but it's certainly a story and one of interest. What kind of impact do you think this has on him, on BYU and their season, and kind of moving forward?
I don't want to talk about that till we have more facts. I feel really weird talking about something like that until we have more facts. So I think it could have an impact, but I don't really want to talk about it, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, I'm totally fine. It's the first time I've been doing Sean's show for 2 days. I've been doing my show all week. It's the first time I've ever even talked about it, and I was just and I get it, and who you just don't ever know. I understand that, and but you have to wonder, having a distraction, I guess, right, wrong, or whatever, just playing in the back of the mind, because I'm thinking of my career in sports, just in the NFL. I never had a situation like this with a teammate where they went through some kind of legal issue. So I don't know if it never really came up. My last year at Utah, we had 5 guys who went to prison for selling drugs.
Wow.
4 of them were on offense, and they were starters, and they were all skilled guys. So it just and it happened like right before the season. So it really that was a tough year, and it really killed a lot of things, and killed what I think was a very promising season for us. But anyways, so we can move on. No worries. So the spring portal came, I believe, and is gone. I guess if someone's in the portal now, you can still sign them out of it. Is that right? But you just can't go into the portal. Is that kind of where it is?
Yeah, the portal, you can't. You're not going to lose anybody now unless they're a graduate. Graduates can. If you're a graduate, you can go whenever. But undergraduates, you've got to pretty much stay put where you are right now. So there's still a ton of players in the portal. So I don't know. The coaches have been out kind of on the recruiting trail.
Yeah.
Utah added a couple of wide receivers, so we needed to add some depth in that room. And I guess if there's still some guys out there if you want to do it, but I would guess, unless something unusual changed, I would guess that Utah's probably what they have now is probably what they're going to begin camp with.
So do you think a guy, like you mentioned these wide receivers, I believe they signed a defensive lineman from LSU as well, a defensive tackle. I know that was a need. Do you think guys can have an impact on a season when they sign at this late a juncture, or is it, is it just more of a depth thing, I guess, when you're trying to get a player right now?
Well, I think if you're a veteran player and you've played some football before, I think you can probably come in a summer and assimilate a little bit. I think wide receivers, you've worked with wide receivers. I think these guys that they've signed have been kind of veteran guys. And I think, you can develop a rapport and learn the offense in that shorter period of time. So, I think so. I think it might be a little harder for a younger player if you haven't played a bunch.
Right.
And maybe you're a freshman or redshirt freshman coming in and you got to learn. But if you're somebody that's played in a defense or an offense before and you know what college football offers, I think that's a little bit easier. You've done this. You can develop a rapport in a summertime, can't you, with a wide receiver?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you can. And I would say the way it used to be in college football where the coaches couldn't be around, but now they actually have an opportunity to spend a little bit of time with these players. How much, I don't know, but I know it's a decent amount of time. So I would think, as long as you can get that quality, because you need the coach to be there. Player run practices, I don't care what you say, aren't the same. There's just a different tone and a different expectation when the coach is there. And so being able to have that, I think would actually add to things, because I the only thing I'm concerned about with this Utah team this year is the wide receiver position. It really scares me at this point.
Yeah, there's not a lot of proven commodities. That's the thing. Although we didn't see Ryan Davis much this spring, Scott.
And Ryan Davis is a guy that had 50, 60 catches a year ago in that New Mexico offense with Devin Dampier and Jason Beck. So I think he was a little banged up in the spring. So, yeah.
Where's Zipper? Is he still around, or did
he was there? Oh no, he was there.
Okay.
He was another guy that was banged up a little bit in springtime, but he was there on and off in the spring as well. And I liked him at flashes last year, and I think they like him too. So I think he's another guy to keep an eye on this fall. I think that the two areas I'm most curious about going into fall camp are the D-line. I'm not worried per se about the D-line because rinse, wash, and repeat. You know, your guy Luther Ellis, Lou Powell, Morgan Scalley, Kyle Whittingham. There's just not a lot of guys, especially on the interior, that are big proven commodities.
Right.
But Utah defensive line is always good and solid. It's just, to me, who are the guys that emerge? But to your point, the wide receiver group is the one where you're kind of going, okay, all right, fellas, it's an open competition. What do we got?
Yeah, it'll be fun to see. And you definitely need someone to step up and emerge, and it looks like they have the bodies there to do it, at least at the defensive end position. All right, Bill, we got to let you go. It's not my choice. I'm not running this thing. I'm just following directions, but it's always good to talk to you.
Olivia's a taskmaster.
Yeah,
I know this.
She runs a tight ship here. She's given me the stinky eye already, so I got to run. Always good to talk to you.
Let's grab lunch next week.
Let's do it Thursday. Just do it Thursday. I'm setting it up right now. All right, take care. All right, there you go. That's Bill Riley. Of course, he is the voice of the Utes, and always fun to chat with Bill. It is ESPN 700's 92 and 92.1 FM Festival of Tees, powered by the Utah Golf Association, brought to you by Mountain America Credit Union. Each day, we're giving away free rounds of golf from the best courses in the state and beyond. Listen to the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell. That's me. From 10 to 11, the Sean O'Connell Show from 11 to 2, and the Drive with Spence Checketts from 2 to 6. For your chance to win today, we have 18 holes of golf at Soldier Hollow. We'll be giving that away in topical trivia around 1:45. This is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Tony Parks is coming up next. Alrighty, sports fans, welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell, filling in for Sean O'Connell today. We are proud to be part of Utah's ESPN radio network, and I am proud to be here. So happy to be here. It's Friday. It's Fun Friday. It's Fantastic Friday. It's Freaky Friday. It's Football Friday. It's all of those great things. It's also Memorial Day weekend Friday. I could tell driving in today that there just weren't a whole lot of people on the freeway, which was nice. I will say there was one person who cut me off, which is, that's a low number for me typically. I think Utah is the cut you off capital of the world. I just shake my head. Sometimes it really annoys me. Today it really annoyed me. I mean, I'm literally getting off the freeway, the 600 South whole deal. In this car, how everyone's trying to make left turns on 400 West, 300 West, West Temple State, all the way up to 600 South, right? So I'm in the very, very left lane, right behind a car in front of me. There is not a car length between us. There's like a half of a car length, and this car literally, and I'm driving, and this car just like darts right in, and I have to slam my brakes on it, or I'm going to hit them. And they get in front of me, and I honked. I honked on the horn, because that's what you do sometimes. It lets off a lot of frustration, a lot of steam. So you honk, right, when someone cuts you off. I guess, I don't know. So then
I'd honk.
Right. It was so I just love to know what's in a person's mind. Now, I understand you don't know their circumstances. Maybe their cat died, their pet died. I don't know. It doesn't excuse it, but it sure annoys the heck out of you. So then I'm driving up to the next block, which I'm going to turn left on, and I go to turn left, and the car that cut me off is in front of me, and they go to turn, and it's like, yeah, I got past you. And so this lady is screaming and yelling at me from her car because she cuts me off, and then she's mad at me because now I got to jump on her to the next lane. It was like, how dare I do this? And I'm just like, you have to be kidding me. So she gets behind me.
In awe.
She gets behind me, and you know what I do?
What?
I drove a little bit slow, taking it around the corner.
That is my favorite thing.
Taking it around the corner.
Oh, if you're petty, I'm down to be petty back.
Yes. And then I just ignored her.
Yeah.
I didn't look at her.
Just enough
I just was
to be mildly annoying.
You are not renting space in my head anywhere, any way
until
whatsoever.
right now.
Hey, and if you guys are wondering out there, that is not James talking to me.
No.
That is Olivia.
Much better.
Yes, Olivia.
This is Olivia.
Olivia, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm happy to be on the show.
Yes, I know. And I was going to ask you your opinion on the whole college football playoff seating change, but you're like, no. No. We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But I am very.
Sorry.
No, I have a diversified portfolio of like interests and likes in my life. Sports is certainly something I love, but it's not necessarily all that I love. Now, what I am really curious about, because it is Memorial Day, right?
Yeah.
Weekend, and movies come out.
Yeah.
I think the Indianapolis 500, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's happening.
That's on Sunday.
So are there events and things that happen like over Thanksgiving or holiday, a sporting event? Does that pique your interest ever? Or does Black Friday shopping have more of an interest than a Thanksgiving football
Sports
game?
are always on because like James is my brother-in-law.
Oh.
So I'm kind of it's weird. So like
it's a nepotism thing.
Kind of. I've been here for a long time. I'm really good at my job.
You're awesome.
But,
you're amazing.
Yeah. So like sports are
But
always
you just
on.
don't like sports.
Yeah, I'll watch the Olympics. I like gymnastics. I like volleyball. I like women's rugby. But like yeah.
So tell me about women's rugby.
Really, I just like Alona Mar, and
it's just a player.
I like her, and I just kind of follow what she does, but that's about it. Sorry.
Okay. So the actual sport is not so much. It's just the
Yeah,
person.
I'll watch the games that she's in, and I like some of the other players, but I can't like name them off of the top of my head. So
All right, other things going on like Memorial Day weekend. A lot of blockbuster kind of summer movies happened, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Are you aware of any that are happening this year? I think Tom Cruise is like the final mission. Are you a Tom Cruise fan? Are you a movie fan?
I'm a movie fan.
Okay.
Tom Cruise is great. He's chill. The new Mission Impossible movie's coming out.
Are you
going to
go see
interesting. I'll probably stream it when it becomes available. I don't think I'll go to the movie theater for it.
Do you ever go to the movie theater?
I
anymore?
I do sometimes. Most of the time, I'm just like, I have like the stuff at home. I can do my own thing. I like watching TV. Like, it's fine.
So did COVID kill movie theaters? Or did just a generation of people like you kill movie theaters?
I think a bit of both.
Yeah.
I think most people, because projectors that you can get for your house are like
Are
super
amazing.
affordable right now.
Oh.
So it's like, what's the point of, I mean, there's a point to going to movie theaters. Like, I definitely go to some, but it's usually ones where I'm like, ooh, I want to see this.
So
like,
how do you feel about that you've actually killed an industry?
I would feel bad, but
there's no remorse.
No.
None whatsoever.
They had their time to shine. It's okay.
They gotta you gotta deliver. You gotta bring it to us, otherwise we're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
I used to love to go to the movie.
Yeah.
And
when it was cheaper, probably.
Yeah, cheaper and actually good movies.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of good movies.
Yeah.
I am finding myself, which is surprising to me.
Yeah.
That I'm a streamer.
Yeah.
Like and I have watched first run movies from the comfort of my home because I feel the same way. I mean, and I have gone to the movie and I'm like, why am I doing this anymore? This is too much work.
And then you're next to people that are just chewing so loudly or their baby's crying, which is great. Take your baby, do whatever.
Yes.
Or they're on their phone. And I'm just like, I'm okay. I have a better experience. I have a better experience at home, for sure.
No.
But I'm definitely going to see some movies in theaters. Like I think Ballerina's coming out, which is like a John Wick movie, but like reversed. And then the new Wicked's coming out eventually. We'll get there.
When is that coming out?
The new Wicked movie is coming out in over Thanksgiving, so I'll probably go see that.
Oh, that's a while. Now I saw Wicked.
Yeah.
On Broadway. Amazing.
I'm so jealous.
And I saw the first half of the Wicked movie.
Yeah.
And you were talking about people chewing things?
Yeah.
There was a 12-year-old girl sitting next to me.
Of course there was.
She had all the characters, her little stuffed animal characters.
Yeah.
She had them laid out on top of the blanket that she had in the movie theater.
Yeah, of course she did.
And she was feeding them popcorn.
Go for it, girl.
And she was into the movie.
Yeah.
She was like it was as entertaining to just kind of look at her through the side of my eye and watch, because I know the movie, I know what happens.
Yeah.
But it was great. So it was a great experience.
Those little teenagers, they're so funny.
I will go see Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
I haven't seen any of them.
Oh, you haven't seen any?
No.
Yeah.
So that's probably why I'm on the fence. I don't know.
Yeah. Maverick, whatever the new Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
That was a good movie.
That was a good movie. I actually did see that one in theaters.
Go see that.
Yes, that one's very good. Brought back the mustache for sure.
Well, it kind of did, didn't it?
It really did.
Yeah. See, I don't like mustaches.
That's okay.
They mustaches to me, the only person I think I've ever in my entire life, I'm 57 years old.
Yeah.
Who could pull off a mustache was Burt Reynolds. Do you know Burt Reynolds?
I've heard the name.
Yeah.
Can't picture his face,
Smokey
though.
and the Bandit. He was kind of a big deal.
Okay. I believe it.
Yeah, and he is a big football fan too.
Yeah.
So you watch kind of some of these sports. Do you watch like the United Football League, the Spring Football League? Do you
Not particularly.
Do you even know anything about it?
No. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. This is kind of fun for me.
Yeah.
No, I like this conversation actually. It's quite fun.
Great sports talk radio.
Totally.
For sure.
1000%.
Yeah.
Hey, we can make anything interesting.
Yeah. It's the summer. There's not a lot to talk about anyways.
Oh, there's always stuff to talk about.
There's always stuff to talk about, but
now there is something I do want to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes, because I can relate to this.
Yeah.
There's a player who actually went and played football for 2 full seasons.
Okay.
So Dondrea Tillman was a member of the Birmingham Stallions,
Okay.
and then which was the United States Football League. And then he also became a part of the Denver Broncos.
Okay.
So he played football for like a calendar, like a whole season. And it brought back memories for me because I did the same thing.
Okay.
And there have been spring leagues that have come up over years. So the USFL, which was in the early 80s, was very popular. A lot of future NFL players ended up playing there and kind of jump-started their careers. Then the World League came along in the early 90s, and that's what I was a part of. And so I saw this story about Dondre, who was this. Well, he's this player that started out in this spring football league, and then got signed with the Denver Broncos and played quite a few games.
Yeah.
And they talk about him going to 2 training camps, 2 seasons of practices, 25 games, and like it's a huge
That's impressive
workload, right?
Yeah, that's a lot.
And he just said, if you really believe in yourself and if you really want something, you have to go get it. And it really brought this whole idea up to me because so in 1992, I was actually in the NFL.
Yeah.
I was a backup quarterback for the Miami Dolphins.
That's awesome.
I never got to play.
Dang.
The guy ahead of me was just way too good.
Yeah.
He was like really good.
That's okay.
So his name was Dan Marino. You ever heard of him?
No.
Okay, good.
I have heard of Scott Mitchell, though, so I think you're winning.
Well, that's impressive because if I can just kind of go down a rabbit hole really quick.
Yeah, go for it.
My mom was living in Phoenix, and she went to church on Sunday, and she called me after church, and she said, "Hey, I met this really amazing family at church today. It's their first day." So when church was over, I went up to them and said hello, and they had like 5 boys.
Yeah.
And my mom talks to the lady and says, "Wow, you got a lovely family here, and welcome to church and all this." And the lady said, "Yeah." And so the lady starts introducing her sons.
Yeah.
Because this is our oldest. His name is Daniel Scott.
Whoa. Now,
we named him after Dan Marino because that's my husband's favorite quarterback.
Okay.
And then we were at the University of Utah when Scott Mitchell was there.
That's awesome.
And they're telling this to my mother.
Yeah.
Right? And
that's
my mom goes,
wild.
"Well, Scott's my son."
It's a small world.
Yeah. So my mom calls me and tells me this story.
Yeah.
And then I asked my mom, it's like, "Well, you should have asked them, why did I get the middle name?"
Yeah.
And my mom says, "Because Dan Marino was better than you." And this is my own mother.
Brutal. Oh, my goodness. Gotta love that honesty.
So I appreciate the fact that you know me over Dan Marino because my own mom doesn't.
Brutal.
Yeah. Anyways, so I'm a backup quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. And they have this new league, this World Football League that they're doing in the spring.
Yeah.
In the offseason. And I begged the Miami Dolphins, "Please let me go play in that league." And
let me actually play.
They said no. And then a lot of people said, "No, you're a real NFL player. Real NFL players do not. That's a place for people who can't make it." And I just, for whatever reason,
if you love the sport, you love the sport.
And for what right? And this comment really hit me that if you really love something, you got to go get it.
Yeah.
And so I went, and they finally agreed to let me go play. Now, Dan Marino, this guy you don't know, who's really famous.
I believe it.
You need to look it up during the break, and you're going to go, "Oh, yeah, this is a big deal." He goes, "Man, if you go do that, you better not screw up. You better play well."
Yeah.
Because if you don't play well in that league, buddy.
Brutal. How'd you do?
I did very well.
I'm so glad.
Yes. No. And I remember sitting there. Now, in the NFL, kind of a cool thing is you have a thing called the off season.
Yeah.
And the off season is amazing.
Yeah.
Because you can do whatever you want.
Absolutely.
And a lot of guys do. Some guys get in trouble, actually.
Well, maybe don't do that.
So there's a lot of freedom along with a lot of responsibility, but it's a great thing to have a long time off in the off season. Well, I didn't have an off season.
So
I went through the entire football season. Now, I went to practice, and then I was in meetings, and at my time,
Yeah.
even though I didn't play in games, I was working, and it's a drain on you, even as a backup. In a lot of ways, it's even more because I went into every game expecting
Yeah.
that I might play,
So
and
you're
never
prepping
playing.
and you're doing
yeah,
all
and,
that, and it's just
and you have pre-game nerves for an entire football game,
yeah,
and you do that over 16 games.
brutal.
So I go play in the World League. So I go through the NFL season. I go right into training camp for the World League.
Yeah.
Go all the way through the summer. I have 2 weeks off, and then I start another football season. So I actually went a year and a half straight
That's
of playing
insane.
football. I remember being in training camp with the World League, and it was hokey, right?
Yeah.
The NFL is cool.
Yeah.
Like the
I'd hope so.
like it's the big leagues. It's
Yeah.
the big time.
You made it at that point.
And that the whole just the locker room, like they have really nice gear, and
Yeah.
and they take care of you, and in the World League, we literally were staying at a Holiday Inn.
You're fending for yourself.
No
a little
offense
bit.
for Holiday
Yeah,
Inns,
but it's
because,
not.
I mean, if you stay in a
par.
Holiday Inn and Express,
Yeah.
you are smarter,
Yeah.
right? So you get smarter, but still, it's not like a 4-star, Omni hotel, or
Yeah.
really. We stayed in really nice hotels in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I remember going to my first practice going, what have I got myself in? Like, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
But then I was like, no, you need to be here, and this is really important, and this will pay big-time dividends to you. And it ended up being the absolute very best thing I could have done.
That's awesome.
And so when I see stories like this,
Yeah.
and I see people just going for it, and just saying whatever it takes, and it's almost a sense of, like, you just lose all fear. You become super humble,
Yeah.
where you lose your pride, and you just say, I'm not above this. I'm going to just go do some really hard things, some things that most people probably wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And it really paid off for me. And it was one of the key things that really propelled me in my career in the NFL, and it's just one of those things that really stuck with me. So to see this happen, and to actually see this player who's, I don't even know who he is, but man, I'm super excited for him, and it was just a really meaningful thing for me in my life.
Yeah, that's
So there
really
you have
sweet.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, and go see Tom Cruise's movie. Right, that's what we've learned in this segment.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, and you need to find out who Dan Marino is.
Yeah, I'll look him up. Promise.
All right. ESPN 792.1 FM is excited to announce that Dylan Gossett will be playing at the Complex November 11th. So it's 11/11. Can't forget that one. Tickets are on sale now. We'll give away a pair of tickets today in topical trivia, which is around 1:45. I kind of like topical trivia because guess what? I get to come up with a question. Well, you two as well. So we'll come up with a good question. And if you answer it right, you're going to play golf, and you're going to go listen to Dylan Gossett. So good deal. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we got a whole bunch of NFL news of note. This is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM.
DiVincenzo floats it into Randall. Stolen by Lou Dort. Alexander Walker with the foul. Counted and one.
The Thunder steal and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander layup and a foul are courtesy of ESPN. The Thunder lead the series 2-0 over the Timberwolves. Game 3 is tomorrow night. This is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM, Utah's #1 sports talk. ESPN 792.1 FM is your home of the Indy 500 Sunday mornings with coverage begin at 9 a.m. It's brought to you by Burt Brothers. Summer adventures are just around the corner, and Burt Brothers is kicking off the season with huge savings on auto service and deals on major tire brands. Save big on Firestone, rebates up to $120. Now through the end of May, visit your nearest Burt Brothers today and drive home with a great deal. All right. I know you've all been waiting all day. I know have. We have him. We've got him. None other than Tony Parks is joining us on the show. Of course, he is the voice of the Salt Lake Bees. Haven't talked to you in a hot minute, Tony. Scott Mitchell here. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm great, man. What a wild day it has been after what has been the breakout of Christian Moore, the #1 prospect in the Angels organization, putting on a show at the ballpark, and Jack Caglione putting on a show at the ballpark, #1 prospect in the Royals organization. So we've had a wild week, man, and now we have a
nice
weekend coming up. So
yes.
So that has been filling every second of each day this week, including today. It's been a blast, man. So I'm doing great. I know this time of the year with college football and all, it's not as hot as other times clearly, but it's always fun to talk about. But this is the time of the year where baseball is happening for me 24/7, 365, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Baseball been very, very good to me.
Yes.
Hey, so you've got this new ballpark. It's out in Daybreak Ballpark at America First Square. Tell me about it, because I love going to Beast games. I used to love to go to Smith's Ballpark. It officially closed after Utah season ended last week, but I'll definitely get out to games there, but haven't been out yet. What's it like? What can fans expect?
Well, what fans can expect is a premier experience, and that is what it's been here so far. We've also been lucky. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The weather has cooperated better than we could have ever asked. And so, like, last night was perfect. Tonight's going to be outstanding. This weekend's going to be great. Fireworks on Saturday. And on top of that, just a massive level up in terms of, game experience altogether for the fan. Everything from, smaller congestion at any concession areas, because of the way it's designed and the way it's facilitated, the way it's operated. I mean, everything about it, I think you're really going to like. The view is more intimate in terms of its connection to the field. You're closer to the field at so many different parts of the seating. And then on top of that, this team is red hot right now. So all the way around, I've said it, this is a great weekend to get to the ballpark because the way the team's playing, the star-studded element, the star factor that's mixed in. And then on top of that, you have the glitz and glamour of a brand-new stadium and all the entertainment all the way around. I think really makes it what has been a fabulous debut season so far.
All right, so I'm going to shift gears for just a little bit, talk a little bit about the NBA, the Utah Jazz. You're a guy that knows a lot about that stuff. So I'm curious about what's your thought about the Jazz. And, of course, they were, guaranteed at least the 5th pick in the draft, and that's what they ended up with. What's your thoughts about the draft lottery and where the Jazz ended up?
Well, you left it into the hands of a lottery, and you ended up with what you statistically were most likely to fall into, which was 4th or 5th. And so you were 5th in this thing. Now, we all understand that the #1 pick would be great, and if the ping pong balls fell our way, and I got it that luck is a factor in this. But as you're building to becoming great again, you had a game plan, which was to flush out and get rid of 2 cornerstone pieces, which I agreed with that move. But now all the moves after this, you've had 3 years with not really a lot to show. And now going forward, the 5th pick is not a bad pick. And I got it that it's not #1 or #2. But you have all the assets, and you put together all the moves in the earlier part to now become a big-time winner in the future. Now, when you look long-term future, in this process, it took the Celtics 12 years to win a championship. But it was 4 years before they really started to actually, blossom extremely well. If I'm a fan and I'm looking at the team, and even as I look at the organization, I'm saying, look, I'm not saying that you should be, hosting a conference finals game coming up this weekend. That wasn't my expectation. But I did think that they would be more along in the process and at a deeper part of the process than they have been right now, honestly, to look at just how bad the product was. And I'm just going to be really honest. It's not about, emotions and feelings. Just like this was not – if you were to tell me 3 years ago this is where they would be, I would say, well, what happened in the first year, in the second year, to allow this to happen in the third year? And if you're telling me, okay, well, they're rebuilding, they're starting over. Okay, no. You started over 3 years ago. Like, that was when you were starting over. So to say you're not hosting the Western Conference Finals, yeah, no, I got that part. But we had to hit somewhere better than the basement and to have as bad a product as you did last year and what that ultimate goal is then. Now, I do think that you can gain ground and you can actually make up for all that ground with great work that you do in the offseason and picks and things like that. So it's not like, what we've watched recently will be what we watch going forward. But I am curious to see, because I did think they would be more along than they have been, and we'll see what they do in terms of gaining some of that ground going forward. What I do know is it's a process that Danny Ainge has been successful with in the past. That doesn't always guarantee you're going to be successful with it in the future. And while it does take time and it takes pain tolerance, I did not think 3 years later they would be in this kind of a spot right now. So as we go forward, and I've told Jazz fans, you have every right to say, okay, I get that we were looking deep into the future, but I expect more, and I actually expect more now. And I think with the kind of money that a Jazz fan spends at the game and for streaming and for anything like that, I don't think that their demands are outrageous. I don't think they're out of line. I don't think that their expectations are too lofty. And I think if a fan said, look, when you want to get serious about winning someday, you call me and I'll spend the money. Until then, I'm not spending the money. That doesn't make them less of a fan. Doesn't make them a bad fan. That just means they're saying, I'm not serious about writing checks until you get serious about the left column.
So, no, it's a great point you make. And my concern has always been when we started this, there's a lot of luck involved in getting those high picks. And the high picks don't necessarily mean you're going to, that they're going to pan out for you. So much of this is a crapshoot as it is. You get players you hope that you draft to turn into something. You see a lot of players who are doing well. You look at the Pacers roster, and I don't think they have a player that's higher than 12, maybe 10. I think it's 12 on their roster right now, or at least starting for them. That's higher than a 12th pick in the first round, and they have role players who weren't even drafted. So. My question, when you talk about getting serious to win, is it the worst case scenario that's just happened for the Jazz, where they have the picks haven't panned out, they haven't got that high lottery pick that maybe they thought, or is it just, hey folks, that's just how this game goes. You win some, you lose some. You're just trying to get the odds in your favor, and you just hope with all these picks you have through the next few years, you win on one of them. Somebody turns out to be something, or the Jazz doing a poor job.
Well, if you're going to do this like Reggie Jackson, where you strike out a lot, but when you hit it on the screws, the ball goes a long way.
Right.
Okay. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Okay, that's fine. But you better hit home runs.
Yeah.
Because if Reggie just struck out all the time, people wouldn't be like, he was a boom or bust kind of guy. No, he'd be called a bust. Yeah. But if you hit it on the screws, you're a Hall of Famer. And you go look at the strikeout numbers, they were high. And I'm not saying the Jazz have to bat 1,000 here. They actually don't. But to just say, well, they'll eventually hit home runs because we just will. Well, no, I haven't seen anything yet that gives me the indication that there's a cultural expectation, that there's a standard. I mean, what I watched last year, I'm sorry, that was embarrassing. Like, I go back to the Quinn's first year, right, and all of that, and there wasn't a bunch of expectation, and they had lost 9 games in a row at one point. And I remember even after they lost 9 games in a row, you could see them formulating cultural identity defensively, accountability in particular ways. You could feel it from Quinn to Rudy. You could feel it to Chris Johnson and Bryce Cotton by the end of the year. And those dudes were not going to go to the 7-11, let alone a Western Conference Finals. So it was great to see, like, all right, they're still in the process of trying to learn how to become good again. But I didn't see that. So this next year, you would have to find something that tells me there's a surge upward into finding the right players for that fit and that system. As of right now, it's very undefined. And I didn't think it would be undefined 3 complete years in.
Right.
That's where I look at it and I say, okay, guys, but here going forward, like, you can't just sell that on me again. If I'm the fan, no.
So
you can't sell that on me again.
So
as I go forward, one thing I do like is I do think they got the right head coach. I love Will Hardy, and that 6-year break for him, or I shouldn't say break, that 6-year extension for him, I think is the right move because I think he has done great work in a situation where it's kind of undefined on what's happening. And so now there's at least definition on the clarity of his future. Now I'm curious to see what the Jazz establish here going forward.
So if you want to see more, you want to see trends, you want to see something, you want to, and you haven't yet. And you talk about Danny Ainge, who has done this before, and I say my prayers every night for Justin Zanuck and Danny Ainge to get this right.
Yeah.
But Danny Ainge is only working 40 hours a week, and he used to work 80. And is he really at a place where he's kind of in enough or all in, or is he, are we getting the best version of who he is, or is it just Justin Zanuck that's doing this? And what are the people, you talk about the coach, but are other people in place, or do they need to step up their game, or does someone else need to step in to really see this thing go to a next level or make the right progression that it needs to make?
Right. Well, so what has to happen here at this point, my opinion, so I wouldn't know if one particular person is not working hard enough or they're not getting the best of this guy. I'm not on the inner workings to say for sure. But the one thing that absolutely must happen, in any organization, you have to look under the hood and you have to get very honest, okay? Because the first step to winning is eliminating losing. And the biggest losing habit that you can get rid of first is being dishonest with yourself about what it takes, about what you ultimately want to have happen. So number one, you have to have, the drive and desire. 2, you have to have the know-how. And 3, you have to have the willingness to do what it takes. And the Jazz, to me, have to look underneath the hood and get very, very crystal clear and ask whether or not the commitment is matching the expectation. Because if those 2 things are out of a line in any way with anybody, you will not go somewhere great. Or it will take a lot more mistakes along the way to eventually get there. But see, the baby steps thing, I don't want baby steps this next year. I want steps. If I'm a fan, I want steps. You just gave me these 3 years, told me it was a tear down, now it's a rebuild. Well, if you're building, I don't want baby steps. I want a noticeable, tangible step that tells me now we're surging the right way. And I don't want that step to be, oh, he's young. That's not a step. That's an indication. That's a label. So production. And that production doesn't even have to be 55 wins. It's got to be something that's like Rudy in 2015. You could see it. Okay, there's something to work with here. And Hayward, okay, there's something to work with there. And the fans were absolutely ecstatic. They finished the season 16-7 or whatever it was. And I remember, but before even that winning stretch, you could feel fans and the interest and the engagement saying, okay. And the reason why is because that group at that time, their commitment matched their expectation. So if your expectation is it all going to go up in terms of dollar amount spent, in terms of engagement that you hope fans will have, but the commitment level's not matching, I could see this organization having another year where it's minimal at best improvement. So that's what, when you talk about those certain things happening behind the scenes, as an organization, you have to get very, very honest about it. And you can't say who is right, not what is right. Nah, you got to get serious. What is right? And get very, very honest. Because if they are aligned, then you make a good selection here at 5, or you draft up, or whatever you do. And with that selection, combined with what you're doing with Will Hardy, combined with all of it coming into alignment, now next year we look at this team and say, okay, didn't make the playoffs, or did get into the play-in. And while there's still a long way to go, this is the cornerstone piece, not just as a player, but as a cultural expectation and understanding. And once you have that going forward, then I think Will Hardy has a chance to really show what he can do, because I do believe in his principles, his vision, and his ability to grow an organization and help them be successful. I saw it behind the scenes at the G League, and I thought he had all the ingredients there. I saw it with a team in the Jazz in his first year, He had all the ingredients there, and that's why he overachieved with them, by the way.
Right.
And they bottomed out. I got that they sold off the team. But the point is, those things are real to me. And so while that was away from him this year, not because of his own doing, the fact that they committed to him, that was a good sign for me to say, okay, they at least have clarity there.
You talk about this upcoming draft and trading up and doing something. Does it make sense for the Jazz to take a player like Lauri Markkanen and he's probably the most valuable asset they have? Could they possibly trade up to 2 or 3 and get a Dylan Harper? Or do you think that makes sense? What do you think about that as an option?
I mean, well, you have the pieces that you would need to get that deal done.
Yeah.
So the big thing is now as we go forward, it's like, okay, Danny's done it in the past, blah, blah, blah. Well, now the trust is in your hands to be hired with this job to make the moves you made earlier, which right away, the Rudy and Donovan, the moving on from that, I thought that was the right move. But it's just like when you, let's say, fire a coach, right? Sometimes firing the coach is the right move, but that doesn't mean the next coach you hire is the right move.
Right.
That doesn't mean all the moves you make afterwards are the right moves. So this is where the trust now goes into them. And remember, this is why they bet on themselves. Danny doesn't make that move unless he knows he can bet on himself to make all the proper moves going forward. Well, this is that showtime. These are the lights. This is where you got all those assets. So if it's 2, and let's say it's Dylan Harper, and that's the guy that you know is going to be the beginning to take this team ultimately where they want to go. That's your Jason Tatum, let's say. And that's who that is. And you believe in that, and you've done your work on it. And you've got the pieces to trade up. So if you believe that and you don't trade it up, then you're making the mistake. But if you don't believe in that, stay at 5. But this is where the expertise and the understanding and the knowledge, and somebody who gets 2 commas in their paycheck and gets trusted with the keys to the organization, this is why they're put in that spot. And you don't bottom out because you hope someday you might make a play in. You bottom out because you want to win it all. And so they made an all-in move with this. And, I'm excited for them to show what they can do now, surging positively, because while we haven't seen it yet with the Jazz organization, there is evidence of what this guy's been able to do in a previous organization.
Oh boy. You talk. I love this, Tony, but this is a great conversation. Absolutely love this conversation. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wins an MVP. He's the 7th straight foreign player to win. There's discussion about U.S. NBA players. Maybe they're soft. Maybe their game is not complete. Are you seeing this? Because you talk about a winning culture and and being honest with yourself, with players. Is this a valid concern, or is this just kind of maybe just a trend or something that will change moving forward?
Yeah, I don't think it says everything, but I think it says something, right? And I do believe that this is an individual award. So when we talk about the ultimate level of excellence and an individual award, we're talking about what's built inside of that individual. So, and I used to say this when people would criticize European players, do they not have the capacity for this? Do they not have the mental toughness? It was kind of a strange thing in the early 2000s when that would get brought up. And I'd say, no, it comes down to the individual and some things. There is something to, like, the European game and the way that it's played in terms of team first, in terms of, truly understanding the invisible acts of winning, and not only understanding expertise, but influence. And that is one thing SGA has that I think is very impressive. You can have all the expertise in the world. It doesn't mean you always have the best influence. And I saw that up close with Russell Westbrook. Triple-double, MVP, X, Y, and Z. He did everything. He won these big awards, puffing out his chest. He's in the media. He's a part of some winning teams. Cam Newton, same kind of thing. They had expertise, and they even had excellence, but they didn't have influence. And that's why, say, the Panthers and they had one run that was all short-lived. That's why somebody like Russell Westbrook, I always thought when he was the face of the team, they didn't always live up to some of the expectations that I had for them. And so that's where I do think the individual that has that, and that's something I think the Jazz should be looking for in the guy that they get. This next move that you get, the guys that you bring in, sure, you want guys with terrific talent. You want the wingspan. You want the height. You want all the physical tools. There's no doubt. That's blatantly obvious. I mean, you can't be great without those things. And also, every bit as important, you need to see which players have expertise and which ones have influence. Because I'm telling you right now, I watched Ryan Leaf and Peyton Manning on film. I thought Leaf was better.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
State.
Yeah,
I did. But what I never knew was you had Peyton Manning, who had insanely, exponentially greater level of expertise and influence. And then you had Ryan Leaf, which, by the way, props for him with all of his turnaround and what he's done with his life. But at the time, you could see he had no influence, and you could see he had no emotional maturity. And so, when you talk about what we want for Jazz DNA, go with that. Focus on that, because that's what made Jokic great. That's what's made SGA great. That's what's made a lot of the players that you're seeing shining on the biggest stage great, whether they're from Europe or the United States. I don't care. I don't care if it's Richmond, California. I don't care if it's somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Ireland. Do they have that? And if they've got that, now you have something you can surge forward and have greater results that you can't even measure.
Very well said. Tony, really enjoyed this. Hope you have a great rest of your days. Thanks for coming on the show. Really fun time. Great insight. And, appreciate it,
man. And thanks for your guys' patience. Love the show. Love chatting with you again, man. It's been a long time.
I know.
I'd like to catch up again.
Yeah. I'll come out the ballpark, say hello to you. So
you better, man.
Yeah, I will, for sure. All right. Be good. All right, there you have it. That's great stuff. Really, that was very. That's a strong take and probably a pretty accurate take of where things are for the Jazz. All right, what are we going to do now? What shall we do now? Well, I think we should take a break. We'll take a break. When we come back, I think we have a PGA Tour leaderboard. We got all kinds of stuff happening. Anyways, this is Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It's Friday. It's Freaky Friday. It's Fun Friday. It's Fantastic Friday. It's Football Friday. This is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. We are proud to be a part of Utah's ESPN radio network. And right now, we have something to tell you. It's a PGA Tour leaderboard update. The Charles Schwab Challenge at the Colonial, brought to you by Uinta Golf. Experience the future of performance with Callaway new shaping materials and an AI X10 smart face delivering up to 8 yards longer with even more forgiveness. Available now at Uinta Golf. Olivia, I believe, has an update for us right now. What do you got, Olivia?
Yes. So in the lead is Benjamin Griffin, and he's done for the day at 11 under. In second place is Chris Gotterup at 8 under, and he's also done for the day. And then in fourth place, John Pack is at 7 under, and he's about to tee off, so he hasn't started at all today. And then Ricky Fowler is amongst a handful of players tied for sixth at 6 under. And then our guy Tony Finau is not playing in this tournament, and this has been a PGA Tour leaderboard update brought to you by Uinta Golf.
Nice. Olivia, thank you so much.
Of course.
Yes. Okay. I think we're going to go back to a break. Break time. Coming up around the corner, we're going to talk a little bit Utah Mammoth with Belle Frazier. Of course, he's a writer for the Mammoth with the Salt Lake Tribune. This is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM.
at the far hash mark. Holding on to it. Center point, Ekblad. Ekblad dangling. Wristing one. Tipped down by Hall. Wide. For Hagee, a wrap chance. And they score! Slammed home by Sam Bennett on the follow-up. Florida with the pedal down. Absolutely relentless. They lead it 4-0.
Florida Panthers goal to help secure their Game 2 win over the Hurricanes, courtesy of Sports USA. Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals is tonight at 6 here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Hey, it's Friday. It's Freaky Friday. It's Fun Friday. It's Fantastic Friday. It's Football Friday. It's even Hockey Friday. This is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Proud to be part of Utah's ESPN radio network. I'm Scott Mitchell. If you only get a part of our show, don't fear it. If you're in your car and you want to listen and you can't, if you're not in your car, just go to ESPN700sports.com, the ESPN 700 app, or you can go to your smart speaker and tell it to play ESPN 700. The app is free. 700 Sports is free. It's all free. Of course, we're also on YouTube at ESPN 700 Sports Utah. So anywhere, no excuses. We don't want excuses. Don't show me the pain. Just show me the baby. Let's go. There's no crying in listening to sports radio. Just listen all the time, wherever you are, and you'll be fine. Joining us on the program right now is none other than Belle Frazier, Utah Mammoth writer for the Salt Lake Tribune. Belle, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing amazing. So amazing. It's Friday. It's Memorial Day weekend. It's an opportunity for us to remember all of those who have passed on, both for family and, of course, people who have served our country. So Love This Weekend is the beginning of the summer. And the summer should bring a lot of exciting things to the Utah Mammoth. They have the number 4 pick in the NHL draft. What do you think the Mammoth will do with that pick?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been the speculation all along, what they're going to do with the number 4 overall pick. And the good thing for them is they can't really go wrong with it. When you're picking within the top 5 or top 10 at least, you're going to end up with a franchise player. We've used this comparison a lot, but Dylan Guenther was 9th overall, Clayton Keller was 7th, Logan Cooley was 3rd overall, and those are your top 3-point scorers right now in the Utah Mammoth. So if they decide to keep the pick and go forward with it, I think Utah Mammoth fans can be excited about what they could get. And I think the good thing for Utah, too, is that it's a very center-heavy top 10 in the draft, a lot of forwards. There's 3 top centers that they could go for, and if they wanted to go for more size on the wing, a lot of people have talked about Porter Martone, there's Anton Frondel, Caleb Desnoyers. So there's a lot of, top talent that they could use, and I think Matthew Schaefer, the number 1 defenseman, is probably going to go 1st overall. It won't drop to 4, but I don't think Bill Armstrong is that worried about not getting kind of a game changer for the organization. And then there's also been talks of they could choose to put the 4th overall pick in a trade, pair it with a prospect and an active player and get someone who can come in and make an immediate impact. I would say that's a lot less likely because it really has to be the perfect deal for Utah to give up, a selection that high in the draft. But if they wanted someone to come in next season who is already an NHL star, instead of waiting 2 to 3 or 1 years for their draft prospect to come in, that could be an option because for newer hockey fans, it's different than the NBA and NFL. In the NHL draft, some of those players will go back to play college or play in their junior leagues or play in their abroad professional leagues before coming to the NHL. So don't be surprised if their pick isn't in the lineup next year. That's just kind of the different developmental process for the NHL. So I think that's something management will think about as well. But like you said, it should be an exciting part of the summer for the team.
Yeah, so interesting thought there. If you trade this pick and you get someone who's ready immediately, what's the strategy behind why a team would want to do that? Why would the Utah Mammoth, what in the world would ever possess them to go out and get a player that they could actually benefit from today as opposed to a guy that they're going to have to wait a bit for?
It's all about where they are as a franchise. Usually if you're picking within the top 5 of the draft, you are really in the depths of a rebuild. You're finishing at the bottom of the league. You don't have playoff hopes on the horizon. You have 4 to 5 years of really dismantling and re-putting together a real NHL roster. If you look at, the San Jose Sharks and Chicago Blackhawks are 2 and 3. The Islanders are first overall, which was kind of a shock, but Utah is only fourth overall because they won the second sequence of the draft lottery, which they had a 1.5% chance of doing. So they jumped up 11 spots. They were supposed to pick 14th overall because they were only 7 points out of a playoff spot, and they're coming out of a rebuild. Bill Armstrong came in and started the rebuild in 2020, and next year for them, all of the players said at exit interviews and management as well that we're not a rebuilding team anymore. Expectations are playoffs next year. So where they are right now is, you ask what might possess them is that they want to have someone come in and score 40 goals next year for them and not have to wait for a prospect to kind of learn how to play in the NHL and have that curve that happens even with the best of players. So I think that's the only reason that they might do it is because they see their window for playoff contentioning opening a lot sooner than a lot of the teams that would usually pick in the bubble that they're in.
Is there someone out there or more than one person? Are there potential trade options that would make sense? Because in a lot of ways it sounds like this might make a lot of sense for the Mammoth.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, you could pick one of the top centers on every team and say we trade for them, right? But I think it's really going to come down to what other teams are willing to give up and what teams want to trade up in the draft. I know this is an example that a lot of people lower in the draft and they would have liked. I believe they're 7th or 8th, so maybe they want to trade up and you can package for someone like Tage Thompson, but he's also a guy that organization is probably going to do everything they can to hold on to. So I think he'd be a great fit. He's big, he's physical, he's a center, he's a scorer, and he's playing with Clayton Keller and Logan Cooley on Team USA at the Men's World Championship right now. So I think if you could make a dream deal, that would be it. But I think it's a bit more complicated because teams will have to say yes to the trade, right? You could drop 50 different trades where a 4th overall pick would make sense on paper, but does that team want to give up one of their top players? Probably not. So that's why I say it's probably the more rare option, but it's definitely something that they've done in the past. And when we talked to Bill Armstrong, he said he's not ruling that option out. And they're kind of going to look at every prospect they could draft, but also every deal they could make with this pick as well. Talk
out of Toronto that they may want to go kind of tear down the rafters and get into a rebuild. So is there potential trades there like a Mitch Marner or does something like that make sense?
Yeah, well, Mitch Marner is actually going to be an unrestricted free agent, so they wouldn't even have to trade for him if they wanted him. He's the biggest name on the open market this summer, and for the NHL, free agency starts July 1st at noon Eastern, so he's definitely the biggest name. He's coming off of a 6-year, $65 million contract with a cap hit of $10.9 million per season, I believe, and the cap is projected to go up next season from $88 million to $95.5 million. So it's expected that he'll probably test the market for $13 million per year, probably for a term of 6 to 7 years. So putting that much cap space into one player is something that people will really have to think about. And he's 28 years old, and it's not often that you come on the market at your prime. He had an 100-point season this year. I think there's no need to explain what a great offensive and honestly defensive player Mitch Marner is, but playoffs have really hurt him and the Toronto Maple Leafs as a whole. They lost their 7th consecutive Game 7 a few nights ago to the Florida Panthers. They haven't made it out of the second round since 2002. So that core 4, which included Marner, who was brought in, that people thought were going to bring a Stanley Cup to Toronto, really didn't pan out, and it looks like there's going to be some big shakeup there. It sounds like Marner will probably leave and sign somewhere else. So I imagine Utah will try to put themselves in the conversation for that. They have around $22.3-ish million in cap space this summer. We'll have to sign a couple other guys, but, numbers-wise, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I just don't know if it's, General Manager Bill Armstrong's style to put so much money and responsibility in one person for that long. If it doesn't pan out, you're kind of stuck with that on your books.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right to mention someone like Mitch Marner as someone that they'll probably send a call out to when they're allowed to in July.
Does this appeal to Mitch Marner to come to Utah? Does that make sense? Maybe he needs a change of scenery in order to make it to the playoffs. Who knows?
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because Matthew Tkachuk, who's on the Florida Panthers, won a Stanley Cup with them last year, is one of their main players. After they beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in that series, he went on a separate podcast and said that his team sometimes feels bad for the Maple Leafs because they have such great players, but the pressure is so much in Canadian markets, especially like Toronto.
Right.
He said sometimes you can use the pressure against them and you beat them because you know they just have to deal with so much from fans and media on a day-to-day basis. So Utah could be a smaller market for Marner. You know, the fans have been extremely supportive and they're not tossing jerseys or beer cans at the end of losses. And you know, I think the Utah market has great journalists, but there's only 3 or 4 of us on the beat compared to 20 in Toronto, you know? So it would definitely be a change of scenery, but at the same time, it's a great ownership who has the funds to give him what he wants. And from what players have said, they really enjoyed their first year in Utah. So, yeah, it's probably extremely different from Toronto, which might be appealing. Like you said, it definitely could be a plus instead of something that would allow him not to sign in Utah.
We're not educated enough to be mean and have expectations for these players. It'd be the perfect place, actually. So I love it. That it's a fascinating topic just in and of itself. Like having a fan base with an expectation and how hard it is to block that out. I mean, because you just can't get away from it. You know, you can't go to the grocery store. You can't go to the movie. You can't go out to eat for dinner. You can't do anything without it being kind of shoved in your face all the time. Like, when are you going? Like, I live that. Believe me, I understand that, and how challenging that can be. Speaking of the playoffs, what are some of your impressions so far? Of course, the Panthers have had another dominant road win over the Carolina Hurricanes. What are your thoughts about that matchup? And then, of course, Dallas and Edmonton. And that's game 2 by the way, is tonight here on ESPN 791 at 6 p.m.
Yeah, it's honestly so wild what the Panthers have been able to do the past 3 years, especially playing. They went to 7 games against the Maple Leafs and then had 36 hours before they played game 1 in Carolina. So they flew directly from Toronto to Carolina, didn't even go home, and then score a cumulative 10 goals in 2 games against the Hurricanes, and they only allowed 2 goals against in game 1 and then shut them out last night. So I had the Panthers winning this series, but I will not lie and say that I thought they were going to come in and kind of blow the doors off like they did, especially because of the mileage a lot of those guys have on their bodies from going to 2 straight Stanley Cup finals and winning last year. You know, a lot of those guys are still dealing with nagging injuries, and Matthew Tkachuk isn't at full health, but it really doesn't matter for them. They have completely grinded the Hurricanes down, and they did it early on last night in the first period. So, and now they have to pretty 14 straight games in the Eastern.
Oh, I think we lost Belle Frazier. Belle, where are you? Looks like we lost Belle there for a minute. Of course, she had must be in a rough patch. We started talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs, and their fans were not happy about it. So they actually cut her out of the picture. Maybe we can try to give her a call back and see if she's reattached to everything. Oh, Belle, are you back on the air now, Belle? Hello?
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, what I heard is Toronto Maple Leaf fans were not happy about us talking about their team, and they cut the power for a minute. Yeah, so you're back on the air. You were talking about the Panthers and their dominance, and that was a bit surprising to you, considering that they a little worn down.
Exactly, and you know, I don't know if you caught this part, if I cut out or not, but the Hurricanes have yet to win a game in an Eastern Conference Final since the early 2000s. They've lost 14 consecutive games in the Eastern Conference Final since they've been in them. So I think they're just looking for one win in Game 3, and they'll go from there. And then the Western Conference Final, like you said, Oilers Stars, that's the one I'm kind of more interested in. I was shocked when the Stars came and scored 3 goals in the third period that night. You know, the Oilers were kind of known for their third period comebacks in the second round, and they were handed it on the other side this time around. So I imagine that one probably goes to 7 just because of, you know, what high caliber teams those are. But it's been really fun to watch both of those series.
So clearly the Utah Mammoth are not in the they're not in the development stage of the rebuild stage. They're in we want to be a playoff team, we want to contend type of stage. What has to happen then from now till next season in order for that to happen? Should we see trades? Should we see free agency? What kind of things do you expect to happen?
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to need some personnel additions if they want to make the push. I think one of the biggest things for Utah this year was you saw late in games that they couldn't get the back-breaking goals sometimes, or they'd go to overtime and then they'd lose, or they'd go to a shootout and then they'd lose. So I think top 6 reinforcement would be really important, whether that's a center through the draft or they're able to sign a scoring winger in free agency, but get a top 6 consistent player who you know you can rely on one of those top 2 lines. I think will be big for them. And defensively, you know, they're pretty strong. They have all of their top 6 defensemen signed for at least next season. So I wouldn't expect them too much to test the market for another defenseman. Maybe you add a depth guy, could re-sign someone like Nick DeSimone, and you have some great prospects in their AHL team with the Tucson Roadrunners. So I expect Utah, if they're going to go after anything, to have it be a forward, to just add a little bit more punch, a little more size and sandpaper up front. And I don't know if you mentioned this last time, but they had the most games go to overtime in a shootout than anyone else in the league this year. And I think they lost 13 of them or something of that. So that's 13 points left on the table. So I think Utah Mammoth fans should be excited in the fact that if they, you know, get one more point in those games, they're in the playoffs. So it wasn't like they were out or getting outscored by a huge margin by the end of it. They're right there, and I think they just need 1 or 2 more guys and a bit more consistency, a better start to the year. And, you know, I think people, it's not an excuse at all, but definitely discount the turbulent summer they had, moving their families, moving to Utah, getting used to all the new norms. So I think coming in this year with no distractions, having the first season and all the, you know, media around it under their belts, I imagine will be good for them.
Logan Cooley and Clayton Keller are leading scorers for Team USA in the Hockey World Championships. That's got to be kind of exciting. Tell me about the championships. How meaningful is it? What's the benefit of it? What's the significance of these guys being the leading scorers?
Yeah, so the World Championship, a lot of the NHL guys whose teams don't make the playoffs or who lose in the first round will go over and play. Some are hurt and just want time off, so they won't opt in. But it's technically best on best, but not really. So it's not that high like Olympics or Four Nations or anything, because a lot of hockey's best players are still in the NHL playoffs right now. But a lot of guys go over just to get extra reps, to be able to play during the off season, represent your country. And Clayton Keller, you know, he hasn't gone in a few years, and a lot of the guys have gone over this summer because the Milan Olympics are coming up, and this is almost like a preliminary tryout for the Olympic team. You know, you want to show the people who are making the decisions for Team USA and the 2026 Olympics what you have. And Clayton Keller was left off of the Team USA Four Nations roster this year in February. And, you know, it sounds like he really took that personal. He played with a chip on his shoulder, and he ended up with his first 90-point season of his career. So he really used it to motivate himself. And then he was named captain of Team USA just now at the World Championship. Like you said, him and Logan Cooley have been tearing it up. They're playing on the first line together. And Logan Cooley could be a sneaky last-minute pick for the Olympic team as well. So I think those guys obviously are motivated to, you know, have good off-season training and represent Team USA well, but there's also the underlying factor that they want to get themselves in front of the guys that are making the decisions for the Olympic team. And Team USA will play in the semifinal, like you said, tomorrow, and then perhaps in the championship to win a gold medal. Josh Stone and Michael Kessering are also on that Team USA team for the Mammoth, for those who want to watch tomorrow.
Yeah, we need to tune in. Okay, I'm going to make you in charge of the Mammoth. and I know there's a lot of things they can do. There's a lot of good players that they can trade for, get in free agency, or draft. So I want you to give me the player that the Mammoths should draft with 4, and I want the player that they should get in free agency. Those 2 names. What are the 2 names that would make the most sense for the Mammoth?
I think this might be an unpopular opinion because he could get a bit overpaid just with how well he's played this season. But for free agency, I really like Sam Bennett of the Florida Panthers. He plays with a real edge. He had 51 points, 25 goals, I believe, in the regular season with the Panthers. He's a center, and he's coming off a deal that was 4 years, $17 million. So people are saying he could push a $10 million AAV during free agency, which I don't know if Utah would do. But I think he just has not like the craziness, but, he's known for playing kind of over the line, but he hasn't gone suspended in Florida, and he's physical, and he gets in opponents' faces, and I think he'd be loud on the bench and hold guys accountable. He's won a Stanley Cup. I think he just has that experience, but also, I said it before, sandpaper. I think Utah could get a little bit tougher, a little bit bigger, a little bit more in your face. So I like Sam Bennett in that way, but I'm not sure if the price tag might be a bit high for Utah. Like I said, I don't know how much money they kind of want to put in free agency this year. So we'll see about that. And then you said for the draft as well.
Who are you picking?
With the help of talking to Chris Peters, who is NHL draft prospect and analyst, we had him on our podcast. He was mentioning Caleb Desnoyers as who he thinks would fit Utah's system the best, just because he said he thinks he's the most versatile center in the draft, that he has a really good two-way game and kind of a gritty character that Chris Peters said, and I agree, Bill Armstrong kind of looks for. He said his 200-foot game and his, all-around presence on the ice in all 3 zones might be the best out of the centers available. Maybe he didn't have the most points out of everyone available this season, but he thinks kind of, like I said, the versatility would fit in. He's a little bit on the smaller side, but, he's 18, so he's going to grow and he's going to bulk up. But I think that's a good option at center. And then I just like Porter Martone for the size he could bring and the natural scoring ability.
All right. Really appreciate your time. Great stuff. Fun conversation. Have a great weekend and take care.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right. There you go. Belle Frazier, Mammoth writer for the Salt Lake Tribune. Oh boy, we're on the verge of greatness here with the Utah Mammoth. Can't wait. So exciting to see what happens because where we sucked in the draft with the Jazz, we got super lucky with the Mammoth. So I guess it just kind of balances out. We want everything. We want to have it all, but we're not going to get it all. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM's Festival of Tees, powered by the Utah Golf Association, brought to you by Mountain America Credit Union. Each day we're giving away free rounds of golf from the best golf courses in the state and beyond. Listen to the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell from 10 to 11. That's me. The Sean O'Connell Show from 11 to 2. That's me as well today, but not normally. And The Drive with Spence Checketts from 2 to 6 for your chance to win. Today we are giving away 18 holes of golf to Soldier Hollow. Of course, we'll give it away in topical trivia coming up in about, 15, 20 minutes or so. Around the corner, it's none other than OC. Sean O'Connell is joining his show. Is going to talk about flights, I guess, in Paris, as in Paris, France. So that'll be fun. And we're going to air a few grievances along the way. This is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. We are Utah's #1 sports talk. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean today. It's Friday, fun Friday, fantastic Friday, freaky Friday, football Friday. And it's the Friday of Memorial Day weekend, which I'm hoping that when I leave here today, I'll be able to drive down the freeway and it won't be just full of cars because I don't like cars. I'll tell you what else I don't like being fined. No fines, so no parking tickets, no, speeding tickets. So I never, ever speed. At least I never get caught speeding. I'll just put it that way. There's a certain speed you can go that's above the speed limit. And you even talk to highway patrolmen and police officers, and they will tell you that you probably can go a little bit over the speed limit. You're going to be okay. Just don't go too fast. Hey, all the way from Paris, France, I believe I'm saying this correctly, is none other than the namesake of the show. Sean O'Connell joins the program. Sean, welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show. I love to say that every time. It's just really fun. How you doing? And are you in Paris, France?
It delights me every single time you say that, Scott. I don't know why. We both think that very simple joke is so funny, but it works for both of us,
right?
And that's fine. Yeah, PFL across the pond again.
Nice.
PFL Europe, so no television, no American television broadcast on this one, and we might. If I'm being honest, it might be better because things are getting wild out here. But in any case,
what's happening?
How are things back in? There's just some Jake Retzlaff style controversies going on at the top of the card that are jeopardizing the fights. So that's not ideal.
Yeah, that's no fun. We don't like that stuff for anyone.
Yeah.
A lot's going on. It's been a really fun show. A lot of fun things to talk about. One thing is the Athletic came out with a list of the top 25 programs in college football over the last 25 years. So the first 25 years of the 21st century or the last 25 years, however you want to look at it. And Utah ranks 22nd. Of course, this ranking was based off of top 25 wins, top 10 wins, rankings in the top 25, top 10, conference championships, and bowl appearances, and national championships. And so all that considered, the good, the bad, the ugly, Utah is number 22. Now, there are a few schools ahead of Utah, TCU, Oklahoma State, Boise State, Virginia Tech, maybe Penn State. Well, not maybe, but they are ahead of Utah. Is Utah about 22? Do you see Utah as the 22nd best college football program in the country over the last 25 years?
I don't like some of the names that you just put out there as being ranked above Utah
on
that list.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think a perennial top 25 in the 2000s is kind of where most people realistically have to put the University of Utah. You can't say that they are a staple top 10 team, not even a staple top 15 team. But, when all things being equal, you could almost count that Utah is going to be in the top 25 at the end of every season. Last couple of years notwithstanding, of course. So yeah, I think that's probably properly rated for the University of Utah. They've done these lists. We've been talking about them kind of all week. They did the top players, the top program, or you just said the top programs, the top individual teams, the top coaches.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff by the Athletic. But as a program, yeah, I mean, I would probably have liked to see them top 20 instead, but anywhere from 14 to 25, I think is realistic.
Yeah, it'd been interesting had the last 2 years, which I think could have gone differently had Cam Rising not been injured and a few things gone a little bit differently. Maybe they would be. Maybe they would be a top 15 team. You go to the college football playoffs, you win the conference. Maybe last year, who knows? Who knows where people see it. Although there's a team like Auburn and, who's won a national championship, so that might be hard to overcome. But Auburn's also been really bad, too. So who knows?
Yeah.
So
it's tough because you have to take the last two seasons for what they are. But
right.
Everyone who paid close attention to this University of Utah football team and realizes the cost of the significant injuries to significant players. I mean, it's like the Stanford teams of about 10 years ago. Those teams are going to look back and say, how did we miss that boat? Where you had a bunch of like first-round draft picks and none of them could stay healthy at the same time. That's what it's going to feel like these last two seasons when, you know, we're looking back at it 10 years from now saying, man, Kyle Whittingham would have won another conference championship in a power conference, and he would have done it. That would have been 3 conferences that he had won a conference championship in, and that would have put him higher on the list of like all-time coaches and all that stuff. So those injuries really, the more we think about it, the more we talk about it, the more it really shows, you know, how important it is to stay healthy and how luck factors in.
This isn't my grievance, but it does grieve me, and it is annoying to me. So Anthony Edwards, I just saw this a few minutes ago, has been fined this season $450,000 for league violations, basically for whatever, on-court issues or whatever. And I'm like, I just, it makes no sense to me. I'm like, are you stupid? Like $500,000 in fines. Like, why are you giving this money away when you just absolutely, like, it's your choice. Like, you don't have, maybe it's his way of like, maybe it's his entertainment. Like, instead of going on vacation, or, you know, I know a lot of people go to Las Vegas and they go, okay, I'm only going to gamble $200. And to me, it's just entertainment. So I'm going to spend, I know I'm going to throw that money away, but I'm just doing it for entertainment purposes. Maybe that's what he's doing it for. I have no idea. But why in the world are you giving up $450,000 a year?
It's really insane. And I know that it's a drop in the bucket for someone who's got a $200 million contract.
Yes.
But also, there's no world in which $500,000 is not a lot of money. I mean, even if you don't want to keep that money for yourself, you have to acknowledge that $500,000 is life-changing money for somebody. You could educate however many people, put them all the way through college. You could, you know, buy somebody a house. You can pay off the school lunch debt of probably 10 different states. Like, it's really insane that people are so frivolous with their money when they have a lot of money coming in. I've never been uber rich, but I still feel like, Scott, I don't know how much money I would have to have where I got to that point where I was like, it's only $500,000. I mean, even if I was a billionaire, I don't think I would ever be able to adopt that mindset, but hopefully someday I get to find out.
Well, and really what it is, it's $1 million because it's like, you know, because there's taxes. I mean, you would have to earn $1 million to lose $500,000 because the government takes it. So it's a lot of money, and you're absolutely right. Look, and if he has anger issues, like if this guy's just mad at something, or if he's frustrated, I'll let him punch me in the face. I'll let him, you know, to air his grievances. Like if you're mad, just punch me in the face, and I'll take a couple $100,000. Like I'll take that. I'll take the hit for you gladly for, you know, $450,000. I mean, even a couple of $100,000 I would do it for. But why in the world you're doing?
You know how many times I got punched in the face for free, much less for a couple $100,000? I mean, come on, man. I'll get in that same line you're in.
See, I want a face like yours, so I just need to get punched a couple of times. I need some character in my face.
Not this kind.
Okay, do you have a grievance? Because I do. But if it's your show, you pick. You go first or second.
I want to hear yours first.
Okay. So this is always a grievance for me, and it really kind of jumped up and reared its head today in just a really perplexing way for me. My grievance is getting cut off on the road, like when people just cut you off on the road, and I swear it happens to me. Like at least 5 or 10 times. I swear it happens to me. I really am a firm believer. We're not very good drivers here in Utah, and we're not. So I'm coming off of the freeway, I-15 at the 600 South exit, and I'm in the left lane because, you know, everyone wants to turn left at some street, 4th West, 3rd West, West Temple, you know. And I'm the light turns green, and this car's in front of me. And I'm moving forward along with this car, and this car just comes screaming in and just and they literally cut me off. There was no space for them to even get into the lane. And so I honk, I stop, I slam my brakes on because otherwise I'm going to hit them. They're going to run into me. And so we're moving forward now. So this car's in front of me. I've aired my grievance. I've honked at him, right? I've got it off my chest. And then at the next light, I'm going to go left. So I go over and get in the left lane, and the car, I get the jump on him, right? The car in front of me who's cut me off is now mad at me because I got in the lane before them and they wanted to turn left as well. And so I'm driving by, and it's a lady, and she is screaming and yelling at me, and I'm sure every word was a cuss word. It had to have been, because it looked like it was a foreign language that she was speaking. I couldn't read her lips, but it was full of anger and hatred towards me because she cut me off, and then I got in the lane before, and she got all mad. And so I cannot stand getting cut off on the road by people. And a lot of times when you're in a small town, so like Springfield, you get cut off all the time. But I don't think people know it there. I just think they just pull out and they figure, they usually wave at you when they actually cut you off.
That's better. That's a little better. If someone cuts you off and then they're mad at you, that's double aggravating. I had a bus. I was behind a bus the other day, and the bus just stopped in the middle of the road, like not an intersection. It just had stopped in the middle of the road. And I was like, why'd they stop in the middle of the road? And you know how when you're right behind a bus, you can't see very far. Your field of vision is limited by the bus.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, why'd they stop? And then they stayed stopped for a while. This is not a school bus. This is a city bus.
Yes.
And it wasn't at a bus stop. And I was just like, huh. So then the bus driver gets out, and I put my hands up like the, hey, what are you doing? Kind of like the, not angry, but just like the shrug, the universal.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on here?
This is really unusual, yes.
Yeah. And he started yelling at me.
Oh.
And I had no idea what he was saying, so I rolled down the window, and I was like, I don't know what you're doing, man. And he said, well, there's scooters in the road, and I'm moving them. Are you in such a big hurry? I was like, I didn't even honk at you. Get back in your bus. So I don't know what it is about being on the road that just brings out the absolute worst in people. I don't know if we don't like being confined to vehicles. It's against our nature as a species, whatever. But, yeah, it brings out the worst. So I will echo your grievance about being cut off. And I have another one, as long as we're talking about public services.
Okay.
Do you have a recycle bin at your house, Scott?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I get it mixed up with the garbage, but, yeah, I got one.
Okay. That happens, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's easy to ignore when you're supposed to be putting something in the recycle bin. It can't be a plastic bag. It could be plastic like a bottle, but it can't be a bag.
Right.
Right? You can't bag your recycling like the garbage. So anyway, I can't tell you how many times my recycle bin, because there's one like grocery bag in there, there's one little plastic bag in there. They just leave the whole bin. They're like, oh, no, you put something that's a disqualifying item in there. And it's my grievance is with the automated system, right? It's with the arm that comes out, and there's the camera that shows them what's in there and all that stuff. If it were people that were still like dumping the stuff in there, what would they do? They would take the one single grocery bag out.
Yep.
They would put it in the garbage can. And they would be like, this doesn't belong in the recycle. This belongs in the garbage. And then they would dump your recycle. But instead, they leave me a whole week extra of recycling because myself or my wife or my daughter accidentally threw one single plastic bag into the recycle bin. It's happened like 5 or 6 times. Grievance.
So I think they have a system where they just dump everything and it automatically sorts it. So when they take it to a facility. So why they can't actually do that, I don't know. But it seems like kind of like the soup, no soup for you. Like, no. You did not do the procedure right. You have wronged us. And so for that, you're going to pay, and we're just not taking anything. And
I don't like being chastised by the recycling system. Okay.
No,
I don't like it.
I'm with you. I think it's a terrible thing. All right. We can do better, people. Better recycling, better driving. That's what we'll do. All right, Sean, I'm going to let you go. Have you had any good food in Paris?
Always.
It's
always.
good, isn't it?
I, oddly enough, went to a delicious Italian restaurant
Oh, okay.
in Paris and had, again, oddly, because I don't usually get soup this time of year, and I don't usually get soup at an Italian restaurant, but this minestrone was just unbelievable,
Good.
blew my mind, and a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, that is. I'm glad all those things worked out well for you because it could have gone bad in a lot of ways. So that was good. All right, have a good night, and we're about done with the show. So, and have a good Memorial Day weekend as well.
All right. Same to you and the same to everyone listening. Excited to be back on, I guess it'll be Tuesday.
Yes, Monday. Take the day off on Monday, Sean. You don't need to come back.
All right.
We'll catch you later.
Will do.
All right, there you have it. Sean O'Connell tuning into the Sean O'Connell Show while I'm guest hosting. Always fun. Yeah, Paris. I'm excited. Excited about Paris. It's a great place. I think I'm going to be going to Paris soon. Hopefully. Oui. Be sure. Oui. Live Night Events presents the 2025 Granary Live Concert Series, powered by Nightingale College and Murdoch Hyundai, Utah's #1 Hyundai dealer. Experience outdoor concerts in the heart of downtown Salt Lake's Granary District. Find more details on ESPN700sports.com. Topical Trivia is next, along with, I believe, some crosstalk with none other than Spence Checketts, here on the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 92.1 FM. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell, filling in for Sean today. Of course, we just talked to Sean. So Sean tuned into the Sean O'Connell Show all the way from Paris, France. I had a lovely conversation about airing grievances in the most amazing Italian food in Paris, which is, I don't know if that's even possible. Topical trivia, 2 tickets to Dylan Gossett. 11/11, November 11th at the Complex, 18 holes at Soldier Hollow, part of our Festival of Teas brought to you by the Utah Golf Association and Mountain America Credit Union. All right, here is your question. You text in 877-353-0700 to give us the answer, and you get to win the tickets in 18 holes of golf. Earlier in the show, I gave my number of days until Utah's football season kicks off. So what is the number of days, according to me, Scott Mitchell, until Utah kicks off its football season? Text 877-353-0700 for your chance to win. Crosstalk today is brought to you by Burt Brothers. Summer adventures are just around the corner, and Burt Brothers is kicking off the season with huge savings on auto services and deals on major tire brands. Save big on Firestone with rebates up to $120 now through the end of May. Visit your nearest Burt Brothers today. Drive home with a great deal. Burt Brothers is also a proud sponsor of the Indy 500. Coming up on Sunday morning, coverage starts at 9 a.m. here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Burt Brothers does it better. Welcome to the show, none other than Spence Checketts. Of course, he is the host of The Drive, which is happening here in a few minutes. We're going to chat for a minute. Are you a fan of the Indy 500? Is that something that you have actually like? Are you into sports? Like, I guess auto racing, like NASCAR, Indy Series. The 500.
I have not made a habit or a hobby of watching it consistently, but I went to it in 1990. I want to say 6. The Knicks were playing the Pacers, ironically enough.
Okay, yeah.
We went to Indianapolis this time of year, and it's quite a spectacle.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're not into it, it's something to behold. It's one of those things. I always say this about both hockey and soccer. Not easy to watch on television.
Yeah.
You go to games, it's different.
Right.
And if you're not really into the Indy 500 or NASCAR or whatever it is, go to an event. I mean, it's not my thing on television, but having attended it and seeing like the pomp and circumstance, and I always like observing people that are really into something that I'm not.
Sure.
Soccer fans are the best example of that.
Yeah.
You don't have to be into soccer to go to a game and see how these lunatics love it. College football is a little bit like that too. So, no, it's not consistently on my watch list, Scott, but I have been to the Indy 500. It was really cool.
When you went, was the woman still announcing, "Gentlemen, start your engines"?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
and that's
very,
a cool
very
moment, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole thing is cool. And just, I'm not like a gearhead or anything, but respect to machinery like that and people that know how to operate it. It's pretty cool.
Haven't been to the 500, have been to the Daytona 500, but when you stand on the wall with 20, 30 cars coming around the corner going about 200 miles an hour, and you're right, the crowd is some. Now I got into NASCAR a little bit, and I learned you have to have 2 people you cheer for.
Okay.
So you have your number 1 guy, and then you have number 2, because number 1's probably going to wreck.
Okay.
And you don't want to have just one, and then your guy's out, and then what do you do, right?
Yeah.
And and I don't drink beer, so it's a bad night for me unless I have 2 options. So then if your number 1 goes out, which my guy did, and then number 2, he didn't win, but I was still in the middle of it.
Between my freshman and sophomore year in college, I did an internship at Disney's Wide World of Sports.
Oh yes, I know it well.
Yeah, down in Kissimmee, Florida, where the Braves have their spring training.
Yes. And
one of the cool experiences we had is when
were you there?
This is the summer of 1998.
Oh, okay. I was really close because I lived in Orlando. I used to train there. Yeah.
Yeah, summer of 1998. We actually, this is non sequitur, but we had this fun little flag football event for media members.
Okay.
And, Disney, ESPN, parent company.
Yeah.
And so all the heavy hitters were there. And this was like the heyday of SportsCenter with Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann, Kenny Mayne, all those guys.
Yeah.
So Dan's there, and they're all just normal guys,
right?
And then suddenly the locker room door opens, and out walks Stuart Scott in compression socks, shorts, no shirt, wide receiver gloves, ready to ball out. It was wild. But anyway, back to the original point, we all had an opportunity to go to Daytona and ride shotgun in a car with a driver.
Yes.
Dude, I don't know that I've ever felt anything quite like that. And I love roller coasters.
Right.
Like, I've never been skydiving, but I would. Like, I'm not a thrill seeker, but I'm not afraid of it. Love roller coasters, bungee jumping and all that. I've never really felt like a rush like that. When they hit the gas and out of the gates, and they suddenly, you're up to 150 miles an hour before you know it. It's quite a rush.
I've heard people who have done that, and they've said that very thing. Speaking of flag football, they're going to have it in the Olympics with the blessing of the NFL, and there are guys that want to sign up. If you're an NFL player, are you going to the Olympics and playing flag football?
No, I'm thrilled you brought this up, because here's my question, Scott. Who are we playing?
Right.
Like, which country out there, like, does Uzbekistan have, like, a great flag football quarterback? We should be playing, like, each other.
Right.
Football is an extremely American sport.
Very much so.
So when I heard, like, flag football is coming to the Olympics, I'm like, who the hell is in it?
Yeah.
They don't have football anywhere else.
Austria has quite a league.
I have a feeling we're going to take gold. This strikes me as like Dream Team 92. Everyone's losing by 10 touchdowns. But you're the pro. You answer. Would you play?
So it's funny. I had Herman Moore on my show earlier in the week, and I asked him this question. He said, "No, I'm not playing." He says, "It's a clown show. Like it's not a real thing, you know." And in my mind, I'm like, I am absolutely. Now I'm playing today, right? As a 57-year-old man, it's like absolutely, I'm going to go to the Olympics, because it's almost guaranteed you're going to win. You're going to win gold, right?
It's not almost, Scott. Like I'm still curious which countries even have a team.
It's one of those things where, let's just say, if you don't win gold, don't come home. Just go to Colombia in South America. Just stay there. Go somewhere where someone will shoot you or something.
Whoa!
But
that escalated quickly.
Yeah. Well,
you can get shot in America too, Scott.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed.
I almost got shot one time playing basketball, by the way.
Where was this?
It's a YMCA. It's a long story.
But where?
In Orlando.
Orlando YMCA.
Well, I used to play quite competitive basketball 3 days a week.
Yeah, I got chased out of a YMCA in Washington, D.C. once.
Yeah.
Not the guy didn't have a gun, but it was after a basketball game in which I gave it to him pretty good.
Yeah.
Glad you didn't get shot, though.
No, me too.
Life goal of mine, don't get shot.
Yeah, that's a good life goal. That's the way to live your life, Anyways, where were we?
You were going to tell me story regarding flag football.
Well, no, just so when I was younger and I was a player, I would never do that. I would never play flag football. But older and everything, absolutely no. And
what you were saying is, if you don't win gold, go to Columbia somewhere you can get shot. Was the comment
right? But if you're the American team, you have to win.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, or it would be a massive embarrassment. But apparently, like there's a lot of players, like Patrick Mahomes has expressed an interest in. A lot of players. So
a gold medal changes your life. A gold medal is a gold medal, regardless of how you get it.
And see, Herman thinks that's embarrassing.
Who does?
Herman Moore. He's like, no, would you really show up with your gold medal in flag football? He goes, it just sounds a little bit baked, a little bit just kind of flaky. And I'm like, no, I would be so proud of it.
Yes, for sure. They have the wildest events in the Olympics. What's the winter one where you like shoot a guy and then you run with like something on your back?
Oh, you shoot a guy?
Well,
you shoot.
You shoot and then you run. Like
it's like the biathlon.
They have wild events in the Olympics.
Yeah, no, and see, I was hoping that maybe they could turn flag football into a Winter Olympic sport and have it here in Salt Lake. And my suggestion was flag football on the ice with those like the crampon things, where you. And I don't know if that's what they're actually called. The ice shoes you use to actually.
Yeah, you know how many NFL players you get to do Winter Olympic flag football? The answer is 0, Scott.
Well, it's in the offseason.
Derrick Henry, flag football, and I don't think so.
I just imagine the coach yelling at the player, your crampon cleats are too short. You need the longer ones. You got the 1 inch. You need the 3 inch. You're going to slip on the ice.
Well, what's safe to say, whether it's on grass or on ice, it's football. We should be winning. And, when I first started, I'm like, who the hell else is competing? They don't have football anywhere else.
Well, they're
Canada,
trying.
maybe?
No, apparently, because I asked the very same – that was the first thought I had.
Yeah.
And I found out that there actually are leagues around the world, that there's a worldwide interest And it's actually easier to indoctrinate people into flag football and to create leagues and to create interest in the world than it actually is real football. It's just it's you think of soccer as kind of ruling the world in sports, and it's just an easier way to kind of develop and train, as opposed to tackling and blocking and doing all that extra stuff. And and it's a lot cheaper. Like, 'cause you just have to get flags. You don't have to get a helmet. You don't have to.
Right.
All right, what do you got coming up?
We have a good guest list today. We have a massive game at Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
We have a game 2 last night to get to. OKC has a level I don't think any other team has left in pro basketball.
Agree.
Latest with Jake Retzlaff down at Brigham Young. The Charles Schwab Challenge in the world of professional golf, and some NFL offseason. So Howard Beck, Zach Harper, Paul Pugmire, Mike Yam, Andy Larson. We've got a great guest list.
Awesome. All right. Well, so glad you could join.
Good to see you, Scotty.
Good, to have a conversation. I'm going to call it a day here on the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 70921 FM. So glad you could join us. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Olivia, for being a part of everything. You all have a great weekend. The Drive with Spence Checketts is coming up next. Until then, we'll see you then.